Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? What's going on? Welcome to the 5th episode of Merchants of Novigrad, a bi-weekly podcast where we discuss everything Gwent. Today with me are my two trusty co-hosts, Baby Joseph, commonly known as BJ, and for the first time on the show, a dear and long-time friend of mine, Lionheart. And with that out of the way, let me introduce you to our guest this week, the Novigrad faction ambassador, the official tournament caster, the pan queen of Gwent, Jaggerous. How are you guys doing?
Oh my god, I'm like Khaleesi. I'm gonna just keep getting titles. I'm doing well. How are you?
Guys, few words to our viewers. If you have any questions, you can ask them in chat. My friend BJ has been charged with the task of collecting the more interesting ones, and we're gonna try to answer them as we go. Also, if you wanna stay in touch off stream, please make sure to follow us on Twitter at Novigrad Podcast. And if YouTube is the platform where you would rather watch the episode, it's gonna be uploaded on my YouTube channel. Just type !podcast in a couple of hours, so it's definitely gonna be there. And with that being said, what have you been up to, guys? How are things?
Yeah, let's start with the guest, Jaggerous.
Yeah, Jaggerous.
How are things? Good. We've had iOS launch, so that's been exciting. There's so many new players. They're so cute and like happy. They have not yet been corrupted.
Yeah. Happy emote.
Went. So I'm good. I've been good. I've been doing some seasonal guides for people, but apparently there's no matchmaking in seasonal, so I feel really bad because I've just basically equipped the Gwent community with like engine Northern Realms with like Sea Hill. And Sea Hill, if you play it, it gets resilience, and you can't target it because it's not a unit. Like so, like your purifies don't work, and then the damage as it goes up, but it carries over. So if you stack it up to say 5 damage every other turn on the first round, in the second round, and then you can continue to build damage.
Wow.
So I made this. It's a gross deck, and then I unleashed it on YouTube, and then I found out that like new players are just queuing into like seasonal. I feel a little bit bad.
Yeah, I feel like it might be a good idea to tag first invocation now. Just to deal with Sihil. And then play War Council, play it yourself. And who's the boss now?
Pretty much. Like, well, I put bomb heavers in the list just in case like you get a mirror, then you can counter that strategy. And also Spring Equinox, which like purifies the row, so then you just remove if anything is left alive, you're just like, and now you no longer have resilience.
Wow.
So it's a fun seasonal, but I kind of feel a little bit guilty.
Yeah. But the starter decks are not the only thing you've been doing recently. How was the anniversary show that you did in collaboration with TA?
Oh, I feel like I was very loud. I didn't realize like I'm as competitive as I can be until I was like, oh, I gotta win this Gwent quiz. And especially because it was Seely from Team Aretusa, Flake from Team Rankstar, and me from Team Leviathan Gaming. So I was like, this is the battle of the Gwent teams, and I gotta take it home. I gotta take it home for the lads, you know.
And oh boy, you did that. What was the final score? When I was watching, it was like 23 for you, 2 for Flake, and 0 for Seely.
Poor Flake.
No, I think I ended up with like 33 points and stuff. But like, we ended up like there were prizes for the contestants, but we just ended up just giving them all to chat because like I have enough Gwent stuff, right? I don't need. Well, I mean, it was nice. I would have had like a display, which are cool, but I don't need it, right? So, we ended up, and then there was like meteorite powder as rewards as well for the contestants, and then we just was like, we'll just do giveaways for the chat instead because I had a great time talking smack with Flake. Me and Flake should never be on the same show at the same time.
You two together.
I'll keep that in mind.
I mean, if anyone else wants to speak and not just like it degenerated to me and like insulting each other.
To be honest, when Flake was here, he was unusually quiet because we had McBeard, and with his experience, 120 something episodes of his own podcast, I had the feeling he was just running the show.
Oh, I can imagine McBeard being like that. Yeah, he like I think when you've done your own talk show, it's tricky because like way back in the day, I used to do the Top Deck talk show, the Gwendolen talk show with Swim, and I think when you're used to kind of talking, sometimes it can be like let other people speak now.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that right, Lionheart?
Definitely.
And speaking of podcasts and other projects, how do you find the time? Because I've actually checked. You've been on the anniversary show. You are doing the starter decks. You are on our podcast today. You've recently been on Commander's Horn, and I've probably missed a couple of projects you've been involved in as of recently. How do you find time?
I mean, it's not too bad. Today's like a Saturday, so it's a bit easier on the weekends, like because there's less going on and stuff. But I just talk shows themselves. It's only really like a 2-hour window, and with things like the Novigrad and the one with Zaid, the Hour 2s is one. They're in the evening, so I tend to use that time to like just relax and do my own stuff anyway, or stream. Like when I stream, it's usually quite late, so I just, instead of streaming, would be like, right, I'll just go on the talk show instead, because it equates to the same kind of content. And then deck guides, I've made so many YouTube videos that it doesn't take me that long to actually make YouTube videos at this point, like editing them and balancing the sound and everything. I'm quite like quick at it now. But the starter stuff I did record like 2 weeks ago or something to try and get it done. And I had a friend who was very kind and like agreed to basically play me in friend matches, because I was like, well, I'm not going to take the starter decks on the ladder. That's never going to work. And I'm not going to take the starter decks in casual, because that's also never going to work.
Yeah.
And then someone complained. Someone was like, "Oh, I can't believe you're just playing friend matches." And I was like, "What do you want me to do?" And they're like, "You should make a whole new account." And I'm like, "I don't want to smurf." Like, I feel like I could have made. I guess I could have made another account, but I still kind of feel like the point of the videos was never to play the games on the ladder. The point of the video was to show players how to play the games.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult. Like some weeks I feel like you get a bit overwhelmed with content. Like I haven't streamed that much this week just because I've been doing YouTubey stuff and I have, talk shows and that sort of thing. But I think as long as you put out some content every week, it doesn't matter too much whether it's like very high or very low, as long as you're kind of doing something. Or just don't sleep. That
that's what Lionheart is doing, or so I've heard. How much did you sleep last night, Lionheart? 2 hours?
I got 2 hours at most last night.
You look quite fresh.
Yeah, you look quite fresh.
Yeah.
And you are suited up as always.
Of course.
But where's your
tie? I feel
underdressed.
Yeah, no tie today. It's casual. It's Saturday. Come on, it's a dress down day for me.
Like I feel like our fashion senses are coming together, because we have Baby Joseph with his flamboyant shirts as always, and now we have Lionheart with his suit. Like I need to step up my game, guys.
I know.
I look way too plain for this podcast.
Too casual.
Yeah, too casual.
You truly are a Nilfgaardian.
Yeah, always in black. Always in black. And Lionheart, you've been doing some new player guides, streams as well, right? Like you've been helping people on your stream.
Oh yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I had a couple of players hit pro rank. I've only been for a little while. They saw me hit pro rank and they sent me a message saying, "Oh, help me." And I thought, "Oh, you haven't watched me play very much, have you? Bless you." But we did, and it was really good fun actually.
What did you play for pro rank?
We played. Oh, it was terrible. Mr. Gecko. I felt really cruel.
Harmony or dwarves?
A bit of both. It was the deck I stole from you, actually, a little while ago. Coincidentally, it was the deck I stole from you. It was fantastic.
I got to pro rank last season with Harmony, and then I know Zaid used that deck to get to pro rank. So now you've used the deck.
I did exactly the same thing. Honestly, I net decked shamelessly. I was like, "Yeah, this is fine. I can play this. I will take full credit for this." Yeah, it's all out there now.
That's how it works. I mean, I take full credit for my decks from TLG. They have like a channel in their team chat, and it's like, "Hey guys, look at these decks." So I'm just like, yoink.
I made this.
You made this.
I think Spyro was the first person to actually make a Mystic Echo Harmony deck. It was like a couple of patches ago. And he was just promoting everywhere. Like every stream I went to, Spyro was there just asking people, play this deck, you're gonna hit pro rank in 2 days. I can guarantee that. And that's actually true. I've never played it.
That's true.
I've never played. I don't play 3 IQ decks. That's just not the way I do things.
Hey,
and it's not Nilfgaard. Like I only play Nilfgaard. Basically,
Nilfgaard is hard to climb with. I think. Like
it is.
I agree.
You see a lot of it on the ladder. I think Nilfgaard is like one of the most popular factions. Like people love Nilfgaard. There's a lot of passion for the faction. But the issue at the moment is it's like basically bribery, diplomacy, high rolling. Like that dictates a lot of the time whether you win or lose is how you how you play your briberies and stuff. I mean, it's not bad. I don't think the deck is bad, like the Enslave 5, Enslave 6 kind of strategies. I don't think they're awful. I think Soldiers is a little bit worse.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're not consistent in the same way as things like Harmony and Dwarves and Syndicate. So I feel like they're a little bit kind of... I would say they're maybe like... Oh, I don't know. Like 3rd, 4th, 5th is quite close, I think, in the skill level of the factions.
Yeah, personally, I don't really like to rely on RNG cards. I mean, of course, if I play like full on Assimilate, that's not meant to win games, then of course I'm gonna play through Bribery. just for me, I know that
it's fun.
You know, it's gonna work in maybe 2 out of 10 games, and I know that people are gonna get triggered when they see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bribery is not really the way to go if you want to climb. So that's why I made my Enslaved Soldier deck. I don't have any RNG cards whatsoever. Only a proper soldier package. I have 14 soldiers in my deck, and some of these cards are really good to play. And you know, Ramon is a very useful card.
It's really good.
And I like having Rygev in that deck. And people have been saying, oh, 10 for 10 or 9 for 9. That's not good enough. But to me, that is good enough. It's probably the best thing you can do with Novigrad if you don't want to play RNG. And of course, I'm playing Enslave because you kind of have to play Enslave. Like, tactics are the most efficient way to play Novigrad right now because these are the only bronzes that actually got some buffs in the recent months. And you know, you have Battle Prep, you have Joust. These cards are for provisions. They are very, very cheap. Like, of course, I even run the Potato Guy because if you have enough soldiers, Potato Guy is 6 for 4. That's amazing value.
Yeah, I mean, foil.
And you can just create, like, you can play Ramon with Potato Guy, then play another Potato Guy from hand, create a pocket, play Rygev. That's a nice tempo.
Potato Guy.
Yeah,
was it Recruit? Something like that?
Yeah, it's Recruit. I love the Gwent Linko.
It's got its own language.
You know, rather than Africa, 20 Point Shiny, Potato Guy, DJ. Like, I still remember the first time I saw the DJ meme. It was so hilarious. And my personal favorite is, it's not very widely used, but calling Royal Decree Royal D. That's my favorite.
Like the Royal D.
Yeah, I think everyone has like some cards that they rename themselves. I mean, there's ones that are well known, like Maruna. It's like, oh, we're gonna give them the suck and that kind of thing because she used to be Succubus. The one I always call Gherkin. You know, Gherkin,
get those Gherkins
like the pickle. I'm gonna go play the Gherkins. But I don't know. I'm trying to think. Everyone has their own names for cards.
There is another one. There is another one. It's a fresh rework, and I absolutely love it. I'm not sure who named it that way for the first time, but I loved it. Calling Demon Pirate the Neckrat of the Sea. I love it.
Wasn't it McBeard?
I think it was McBeard.
Yeah, I think
Neckrat of the Sea.
Neckrat of the Sea.
That sometimes happens as well. During tournament casts, you'll accidentally or intentionally call a card something, and then for the rest of the broadcast, that's the name of that card. Like, I accidentally called Rodriguez.
Yes,
so then I was like, well, that's just his name now. Yeah. And there was one where, what was the card? It was something like the drummer or something. And it was a card that boosts, and I was like, oh, these are the boosty boys. Like, because there was
I still say that. I still call them boosty boys.
Yeah, these are the boosty boys, and like. Sometimes within the broadcast, you have like a meme of a card name that kind of runs. And I mean, I guess that happened with was it with Mogwai when he was like, "Here comes the BJ," with DJ.
God, yeah.
I remember
just lives on forever.
Yeah, and it's the same with Pasak. Like, he's not even playing Gwent anymore. He's not part of the community. He was banned, but the memes live on. They're still with us.
Yeah.
But then we're at the stage now where people don't know some of the old memes. Like, what was it? The one that was like, "Oh, he's a degenerate that needs to be gunned down in the street." And then someone was like, "Why would you say that?" And I was like, "No, this is an old Gwent meme because of Swim and Merchant." There was this, like, I think someone made it up where like Swim said it about Merchant, or Merchant said it about Swim that the other person was a degenerate who needed to be gunned down in the street. And it was like neither of them ever said that, but then it became this like running joke. But like, because neither of them are part of the community anymore, and it's been so many years now, that meme's kind of died. And then so whenever someone's like, "Oh, he's a degenerate," I'm like, "Oh yeah, he deserves to be gunned down in the street." They're like, "Jaggerous, what's wrong with you?"
You can't say that. Should have instead of starter guides for decks, starter guides for old memes, just to make them feel welcome.
I'll explain the Gwent history 101. Oh, we had such a good conversation about old like metas, like, oh, remember this? Oh, I remember. Like, oh, remember like Player Dwarf, Buffer Dwarf?
Oh,
Good old
those
time.
were the days.
Oh, do you remember Resilient Dwarfs? Like, I
Yeah,
want to
that's
play that
Player
in
Dwarf,
seasonal
Buffer
now,
Dwarf.
just for the sake of memories.
Oh,
I
nostalgia.
don't remember that.
Because
Oh,
boosts got carried over with resilience, they didn't reset. So you would
It's
just
so
play
crazy.
these resilient dwarves and then just boost them up like mad. And if
And-
they stuck, carry over like 50 odd points.
Yeah, and whenever that was meta, and you know, old Letho was still around, I would love to. I just love to play Novigrad and play old Letho and Peter on Letho, or like, no, Peter didn't work because God were immune. It was D-Bomb, I think.
But Letha was that
Oh,
one where like
D-Bomb.
it like absorbed the two
Yeah, he was.
units.
Yeah.
Absorb
Yeah.
and banish.
yeah.
I played
And then
him
you'd
with-
like steal the points back over to your side and stuff.
That was
Mine,
later.
right?
That was later. Before
Yeah, I
that,
played that.
you'd have to use D-Bomb because golds were immune, so you cannot interact with it in any way. And
Ah.
D-Bomb affected the whole row.
And you had promote strategies where like you
Oh,
could make
yeah,
cards
yeah.
gold and they were untargetable.
Hence-
and then
hence
Northern
promote.
Realms had a passive, like all the factions had passives, and Northern Realms, the gold cards would all get +2. So you'd like promote them and then they'd all
Oh,
get
God.
stronger. But then people would debomb them and they'd all get weaker. And then you'd be like, aha, I'm just going to promote them again. And it was like this back and forth. There was all sorts of nonsense. And you
I'd actually
forget.
forgot
Like, do you remember when people played Siri Nova, like that 25-point finisher?
20,
Ouch.
it was 25, then it was 22, and people still
Yeah.
played it.
that. I was going to say, it didn't make any difference. It was still great.
Yeah, it was
I remember being triggered by that a few times.
I played it in a camp.
No.
Or like strategies where you used to play weather in like a back row, and then you'd Ard, and Ard would push everything back into the weather, and then everything would go down to 1 strength, and then Ard
Oh,
dealt
that
more
was a
damage.
close
So
beta.
you'd push everything back and kill it all. Yeah, there was all sorts of things. And like Eridan used to just be a 10-point silver. That was his ability. You played 10
Oh,
points.
really?
Yeah, bang.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a lot of crazy stuff. Prover into Spy.
Oh, the whole spy nonsense.
Yeah,
and then
with
you'd end
war
up playing like
dancers as well. Oh
Yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
let's not talk war dancers. Oh,
I did.
too fast for you,
bad memories.
got PTSD.
Guys, but we are kind of straying away from
Yeah.
from the segment as
Yeah.
always. As always, we
Oh,
have fellow
but-
content creators. Like it happened with McBeard and Flake too. We just started talking and it just went its own way. Yeah, we I haven't asked BJ. What have you been up to? Like, what have
Yeah,
you been doing as of recently?
Not that much because I've been very busy with like studying and stuff. But I've been participating in the Oddball tournaments that is organized by Dr. Dennis, Mr. Habla, and Ace of Plays.
Oh,
we
it's,
are doing these meme kind of tournaments.
It's facial hair, right?
Yeah, it's facial hair.
this
That's
one-
the
this
thing
one-
now.
this-
November.
Yeah, because of November. So I participated. Only part 1 is out. You can check it out on Ace of Plays YouTube channel. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Cecilia is participating. Bibo Boop is participating. Bushi is participating. And Zaid as well. Zaid was also participating. So it's a lot of fun to invite these fellow content creators and try to make tournaments with different rule sets. Like the first time it was like you had to put 35 cards in a deck. And I was very smart. I practiced with Wille, fellow co-host of the podcast, and we put 4 gold cards in every deck, and then we put like a bunch of 4 proficient bronzes to make sure they fit in, because we just played very expensive gold cards. And that's why I won all my matches and I won the first tournament.
Because you tryharded in a fun community tournament.
I hard in the community
Freaking
tournament. That guy,
BJ.
me.
And when I
Unbelievable.
just said like, it feels so good to play old beta Gwent. That was my excuse.
You got your full gold, 6
Yeah.
silvers, and 15 bronzes.
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
whatever.
I
it
was
was.
not. Yeah.
To be honest, that's still kind of the rule. Like you, of course, we don't have silvers anymore, but people usually still play 10 golds or like around 10 golds and 15,
Yeah, that's
15
true.
bronzes.
Yeah.
It's true.
That was probably. I remember when Hong Kong first dropped, and there was a guide on how to properly build your deck. And one of the first points was, okay, we don't have silvers anymore. Just make sure you have 10 golds, 15 bronzes. You're gonna be good.
Oh, but that was back when you had like 0 provision bronze cards that you put in your deck just to mulligan. Like, yeah, bomb and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, just
And it'd be
more
like, well, I'll
fodder.
just throw it away. And then, yeah, I can't even imagine 0 provision bronzes now. That's 0
It's
provisions.
nuts.
That makes absolutely no sense. It costs you nothing to put these cards in the deck.
Let's just have them anyway.
Just play the best cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man, Homecoming has come a long way in the last
Oh,
year.
definitely.
Hugely.
And we are definitely gonna talk about that. But there's one more thing I wanted to ask. because you've been way more active than in like before the Challenger, and we were just wondering, has you joined TLG? Has that something to do with your activity? Like, did it motivate you to produce more content, or was it just you already produced a lot of content and TLG approached you? Like, how did you join? How was the whole thing with the team?
I've met a lot of like TLG members anyway. Like, I met Beardy at Open 8, the one where Green Knight was there. Like, I met Green Knight, I've met Radu. I've met Chezzy, for example. He was at obviously the most recent Challenger, so there was people there to support him as well. Radu and stuff. So I kind of knew them anyway, and I think they like kind of talked to me a little bit about joining before, but I was always a bit like unsure with teams and stuff, like what it was that I needed to do, and that sort of thing, because I didn't want to take on a load of extra work, because like I have to do my own YouTube, I have to do my own Twitch, and then sometimes when you get approached, people are like, can you make YouTube videos for us? And I'm like, it kind of is a bit of a split, so it's sometimes like it's just too much, and I don't want to say yes to doing something and then not have the time to do it, because then you're letting people down. Who was it I was talking to? I think I was talking to Beardy, and just having a conversation. He was like, oh, if you ever think about joining, TLG, you're super welcome. Like, I know you've spoken to a lot of the members already, and get on with everyone, so consider that. And then Shadowplay, I think, messaged me, and I was kind of like in two minds. I'm never really sure. Like, I didn't want to commit to something and then not do a very good job. But I'd also been, hanging around Spiro's stream, because like he streams at a good time for me to actually have it open when I'm doing other things. So I kind of got to know him a little bit and his community, and I was like, you know what? Sometimes I feel a little bit isolated from the Gwent community, even though I'm like on a lot of talk shows and I know a lot of people. Sometimes I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes you feel a little bit like, does anyone actually like me? It's just like, I know it's in my head, but I was like, I feel like a little bit isolated. So I was like, well, maybe if I join a team, it's going to give me more of a feel of being part of a community. So I joined TLG. I was just like, you know what, let's just say yes and we'll see how it goes. And it's been absolutely lovely. Like, their team chat is always like quite, happy and friendly and positive, and they are really passionate about Gwent. And also now I don't have to build decks, which makes my life so much easier. Just steal them from the team. But no, it's been good. It's not. I don't think I've really like pushed to make more content necessarily because of joining TLG. I think it just kind of coincided with me having more energy for Gwent. Coming up for Challenger, I was doing my prep for the tournament anyway. Making sure I play the game, making sure I knew the game, and then I kind of like felt like I had my passion back for Gwent, because I felt like that died for a little while, just from burnout and that sort of thing. So when I felt like my passion for the game was like renewed, it made sense. Like, I wanted to make YouTube videos again, and everyone's so lovely on YouTube. Like, my community on YouTube, they're always like, Jack, you're back. We missed you. Please never leave again. They're so happy. So it's such a positive place. Like, it then makes me want to make content. And with iOS, I know that the beginner content was really lacking at this kind of point in time. That like people do make beginner content, but it kind of comes in waves. Like, something happens, people make lots of content, and then it kind of dips, and then you need to update it. And when I first started playing Gwent back in closed beta, there was like no beginner content. And I remember that's why I started making Gwent content. I was like, I need to fill this niche, because when I started playing, it was really hard. So with iOS, I was like, I want to redo the starter videos. Because a lot of people know me from the starter videos. Like, a lot of new players are like, oh, that was their first like foray into Gwent YouTube. So I was like, well, let's just make a big effort to kind of get some videos put out, and I'll do it. It was right when the Hearthstone debacle was happening with where people were leaving the game because of Blizzard's decision making and stuff.
It's the Hong Kong situation.
So I was like, well, I'll just post the starter stuff now, and then it's going to all be there for iOS, in a week and a half, and get it uploaded and get it going. And then since then, it's just been like, it's been fun to make videos again. So it doesn't, it doesn't feel like it's like hard work. Whereas when Homecoming dropped, like, I found it really difficult to make content, and I think people can tell when you're not into it, right? Like, if you watch a stream or you watch YouTube, and you can tell they're just kind of doing it for the sake of doing it. But yeah, no, TLG's been fantastic. They've been really good fun. It's fun to have just like a little kind of group. If you ever want to say anything about Gwent, you can just kind of go in there. And their Discord's been popping off a lot with lots of new players, which is really exciting. Like, you got a lot of people coming back. Like, so many people are like, I played in beta and I have 8 million scrap. What what do I do with it? So yeah,
So
it's
true.
good fun. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate because, as I told you before the podcast, I'm also very new to the whole team thing. I only joined TRS around 2 months ago, and before that, yeah, I definitely felt a little bit isolated, especially with all my friends already being part of a team. Most of them being TRS, guys like BJ, Villa, and quite a few content creators that I already knew and respect, like Flake, also being part of the team. So, but in my case, it wasn't like I was looking forward to join a team, or I was actively trying to get recruited anywhere. It was more like I was talking to BJ in his own stream, and he was like, "You know what? If you wanted to join, you just could."
Yeah.
So yeah, I talked to the guy and to the team captain, and we had a decent talk, and then. And I gotta admit it, but at first I was quite like you, because I always have this feeling when people ask me, "Oh, would you like to do this or would you like to do that?" and I say no. I just straight up say no. I don't want to do this. I don't have the time or the will to do it. But personally, I say no. But then behind the closed doors, I start to think it over, see if I could fit it into my schedule. How much time it would take. And that's basically how this podcast was born, because I was talking to Dennis, who was the team captain at the time, and he was like, you could probably do something like that. I could maybe a quiz or a show of some sorts. And then I realized there's not that many Gwent podcasts anymore. Basically, only Commander's Horn, and at that time, it was essentially one episode a month.
Yeah, it was on a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I talked to BJ, I talked to Villa, and that's how the idea was born. But initially, when Dennis suggested it, I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. No way. I have my articles, I have my videos. Like, I don't have the time to do it. And then I started doing that, and it's absolutely awesome. It's been a great journey, and
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
and the first episode we had Bebo, and that was like, okay, he's part of TRS, like. Okay, he's a respected, known streamer, but he's part of the same team, so that was quite easy. And then on that wave of happiness and optimism, we just messaged Buja, and he was like, "Sure,
Yeah.
easy." I love.
He probably hasn't been on a podcast in ages, I suppose. He used to probably do. When there was more content, he probably got asked to be on them quite often. But because, like you said, it's kind of quietened down. Like, we don't have. The Top Deck left, obviously, and then I don't think Team Aratusa ever did a podcast, or did they?
They have some sort of
Briefly,
podcast now. Zayd is doing that.
Yeah,
Okay, they may be picking one up.
It's only
Yeah,
YouTube.
and I know TLG, they had faction chat, and they've actually been talking about bringing it back yesterday, because I was like, I'm on the podcast, and they're like, why did we stop doing a podcast? Maybe we should do a podcast again. We already have enough competition, okay? This is like the podcast, was it like
any podcast as well?
Renaissance. I always say Renaissance, but it's Renaissance. But just all the podcasts are going to come back.
Yeah, but it actually shows you how more active the community is as of late, and it's a great thing.
I think Gwent's on like an upswing at the moment, it feels good. At least that's how it feels to me. Like, it does feel like Gwent's like on a bit of an uptick, which is good.
Yeah, because I always feel like the game is not properly marketed. Like, there is, if you don't know about Gwent, there is essentially no way for you to discover Gwent. Like, there's no ads, there is no CDPR employees going through various forums or other Reddit categories just tell people about Gwent. And I feel like, you cannot grow a community without things like that. But then we had the Challenger, and then we had the expansion, and then we had a hotfix and a patch and mobile release. Like, a lot of events packed in essentially a month and a half.
And I think this is like the first expansion that didn't feel like it like completely unbalanced the game. Like the last couple of expansions, they were good, but they took a while to kind of like fix some of the cards and find their kind of spot. With Novigrad.
It wasn't enjoyable, was it?
Yeah, whereas like this last season, I feel like you can more or less play every faction. Obviously, like some factions feel stronger than others, but every faction sees play. And like you can probably get to pro ladder with any faction. It just depends on how much time you want to put in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Yeah, essentially, when it comes to balance, I'm pretty happy overall. Like, there's a couple of cards, and there's a single mechanics I'm not a huge fan of, but other than that, it feels really, really good to play Gwent right now. And I was actually wondering, because we were talking about starter decks, how you got to make them. Is that something you see doing long term? Because obviously, in a couple of months, there's going to be another expansion, and a lot of things are going to get changed. Are you going to make more videos then? Is it something you want to do every single major patch and expansion? Or
I think with starter content, you have to kind of update it every, depending on what's going on in the game every few months or so. I'm hoping that with the current state of the starter decks, they're quite good. So if CDPR don't change the starter decks, the content is fine because it's only starter deck versus starter deck. So, as long as those cards don't change, which I don't imagine they will, then the content will stay relevant. The issue would then be if you're making budget decks where you spend less than say 1,000 scrap or so, that's the kind of content you'll need to update. But it's worth just keeping an eye on it and making sure that it is up to date. Although I recorded the monster starter deck and then got a message from Slammer being like, by the way, with the expansion, they sneakily changed the monsters starter deck. And I didn't say it. So I was just so I basically made a video which doesn't have the right cards in it. But to be fair, that deck had Nithril in it. Like Nithril, where it it destroys an artifact and damages adjacents by 2. But if there's no artifact or no adjacents, it's like a 5-point card.
It's pointless.
Exactly, it's pointless.
Oh, it's 5 points. But but yeah, so he was just like, oh, we've changed it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll have to just redo this video, it was actually fine. And then I went and got the updated list because all the other lists they hadn't changed, which was good. I was like, oh, please don't tell me you've changed all of the lists.
They've done all of them. Start again.
And it was much better. And then now also, previously, obviously, you had to unlock leaders. Whereas now you can just change them. And the Northern Realms list is Inspired Zeal, even though the only card with order which you actually need to play it on is the Blue Stripe Commando. So as soon as you open that list, you should just change the leader straight to me. What's she called now?
Oh, I don't know.
Inspired. No, not Inspired.
No, Inspired Zeal is called
Royal something?
Royal something.
Royal Inspiration.
Yeah, Royal Inspiration.
Yeah. Because the deck works so much better as a boost deck than as because you're not using order cards, so it's a bit odd. But then I was like to someone, probably change the starting leader. But actually, please don't, because then my video is technically wrong again.
I mean, I remember when there were still the Silver Witchers, when they were still on the starter decks, and they were nerfed a long time ago. They
went from 3 to 2. That was back when we were the faction ambassadors were in talks with CDPR about changing the starter deck, so we knew that the Witchers were going to get nerfed because they were don't put Witchers in the starter decks. When we were doing our iterations. Oh, that was a stressful time though. We had a lot of discussions and back and forths with CDPR about what to put in them, and I think I was quite I got quite I'm not angry, but I was saying to them, you have to give players good cards. You can't just give players bad cards. They've got to want to stay with the game, and they've got to want to feel like they can win. And if you have these decks which were mostly neutral at the time, with cards that don't really do a lot, they're not gonna have any powerful cards, so they're gonna feel kind of they just get stomped. Whereas now, I think you get Anna Strenga in the Northern Realms one, and you get Osril in Monsters. Nice. You get Serra and Orcs. You don't get Lether, but you at least get Serra and Orcs with Nilfgaard, which are kind of staple. There's a lot of actually decent cards now in them.
You've got to have some actual win cons, otherwise there's no chances there.
And that took a lot of kind of pushing. I know Pavko, for example, is in the Scoia'tael one. So they're much better than they were, but it did take...
That's something I wanted to briefly talk about, because that's the best troll move they've done in a while. Pavko in the starter deck, so you can not mute the card, Busha is there forever.
Yeah, he's one of the first cards. And people the new players won't even know that that's Burja, and then they'll see patch notes or see Twig and be like, he looks like that card.
Yeah, I think I know this guy.
Yeah,
he looks familiar.
And then because that's kind of funny. I never really thought about that. Because I've always known when new cards come out who they are, because I've been in Gwent so long. With Walter being Jason Slammer, for example.
Yeah, we actually had a talk with McBeard on the show, because that was a popular belief within the community that the combat engineer is actually him. And then, he was talking about the whole story that it wasn't him. There was a contest, somebody else won, but he went to Reddit and he wrote, "Yeah, that's me." And people believe that, and then for a very long time, it was like it was like an urban myth of Gwent, where people who've been around for a while thought, okay, this is just McDeer, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's too funny though.
I think like I don't know, when I was at Challenger, I was like to Jace, I was like, so when the casters get cards, and he's like, he was just like, there is a queue, and I was like, all right, how do I get promoted up the queue? But it turns out the art people, maybe they don't always like drawing real people, because like I guess there's more pressure to like get it right, or something that like isn't gonna upset them, and I guess it's like you have less creative freedom with your art, so like it's fair enough, to be honest. But I don't think there's gonna be a Jaggerous.
I think we just need to send a message to the long artist name and talk to him personally.
Let him speak long artist name.
But we touched upon the topic of the expansion, and that's like a major part of the next segment. What's happening in Gwent? We already talked about how we enjoy the patch and expansion, but overall, like your overall feelings, guys, of the direction the Gwent is taking, of the patch, and the expansion, because they are obviously linked. So let's start with BJ, maybe. Like he's the silent partner this episode.
Oh yeah, I am. I mean, I have not played that much Gwent as of late. I played a little bit of seasonal mode.
Shame him.
Like I played a little bit of seasonal mode, just a couple games, and that was a lot of fun. But I have not played any ranked matches really. Like I played one game with the Inspired Zeal. Volta seems to be pretty decent at the moment. Yeah. So it's hard for me to judge the current expansion, but I see that Syndicate is like still tier 1, and that most of the other decks are like tier 2. But yeah.
Yeah, like we actually had Tailbot on the show, and then when we were talking about Syndicate, he just named like a handful of cards that he said were quite overtuned.
Yeah, Safola.
Yeah, I think that you don't know.
Right now.
Dar mutated hound.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is the best doggo ever.
You're the best. Dog. Yes, you are.
Dar mutated
I
hound
like
mentioned, and we
me.
get one of here.
So yeah,
It's not dire or mutated. Just a hound.
Just adorable.
just the hound, yeah.
Professor as well, because they added Professor,
so
which gives you
OP.
like the damage and the bounty, so like you can instantly kill a 3-point and get coins, or you can use it to apply a bounty and whittle something down to make it like easier to kill. Like there's a lot of strong cards, but they're strong standalone cards is the issue. Like
Yeah.
Syndicate doesn't really need synergy in their cards. Like I guess like the Savola Louisa thing, but with stuff like now Vivaldi Bank as well, you can basically find all of the parts that you need, and then you also have like Scarab Man, Javed,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he can then have two, and you can put two
defenders.
defenders on the
It's
board,
crazy,
which
isn't
is, and they're really awkward to deal with because they have 2 armor and 1 strength. So it's like
Yeah.
they're just a
Unless you
pain in the butt.
And they give, and if you kill them, they give you
money.
points.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a really good defender, man. And
It is.
It's probably the best defender.
Yeah, and then like the
meme
whole
around with
graded and
Supras.
Mariels as well. It's like there's so many good standalone cards in Syndicate, and it's like you don't need that much synergy. Like you play Ewald without Horst. Like he's designed, if in the graveyard, it's
You
like
just don't need him, do you?
we don't need him.
not anymore, at
No,
least.
bang.
So it's kind of a shame in some ways that's where Syndicate's at.
Yeah.
But I still think Syndicate's hard to play at the highest level. Like the way you beat Syndicate is people don't know how to play Syndicate.
I completely agree. It takes.
I'm like,
it's so much
oh, it's okay. This person is bad at Syndicate, so I have a chance.
Yeah, it's a very high skilled faction.
Yeah, but when it comes to the power level, I'm not sure who said that. But they said something like there's 30 odd cards. They're super powerful. Choose 25 of them. You have T1 deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
don't remember exactly who said that.
I think that was. I'm not so sure, but I think that was on the TRS Discord.
Yeah, maybe it was in there. Yeah.
And Lionheart, because you got to pro rank for the first time, right?
I did. It
So
was great to
how
be back.
do you enjoy the expansion? Because you are a returning player in a way. So
Yeah.
what do you think about the expansion? How do you enjoy Gwent?
I've loved it so far. I think Challenger really restarted my love for it. I disappeared from Gwent for about a year. The Homecoming really sort of switched me off the game. I had fun with it, and it felt like a grind to play. And even the people you were playing against, it didn't feel like they were having fun.
No.
Then it just nobody seemed to be enjoying themselves. It's just doing it on emotions, and I hate it. But now, then Challenger happened, and the whole community, loads of people went, and it just felt like there was this huge buzz around Gwent again. It's like, I feel like jumping on that. And I started playing again, and I'd come back, and I'm down at rank 25, and I'm like, I've got to learn the whole game again. What do I do? This is not what I remember. But the fact that it is more balanced has made it more enjoyable. You can, like you said, you can rank up with almost anything, really. And it's so much easier when you shamelessly net deck people. It's fantastic. I love it. But no, I'm really enjoying it. It's nice that if you do well, you can play well, and it is still, while there are RNG cards and it is difficult, it's nice that if you play your deck well and you know your own deck well, you can win against almost anything, because it feels like there are more people playing and enjoying it. So I'm loving it. Dipping into seasonal modes and stuff as well. Jag, I shamelessly stole the seasonal deck you made this season. It is so ridiculous. It's not even fair. Like, you don't 2-0 people, 1-0 people with that deck.
Yeah, in my video I made, I was recording games and everyone kept surrendering in round one. No, like, I had 3 games where I won in the first round just because people were like, well, I've lost this.
They just had no chance.
And it feels a bit bad. But yeah. I mean, if you need to get your quest done because you want to get the card back and stuff, it's not too bad. I also did a Point Slam Skellige list as well. That was the first video I put up to give people a bit of choice. But then now people are like, oh, can you do a Syndicate seasonal deck? Can you do a monster? I'm gonna end up just making a bunch of seasonal decks at this rate. But I like to get seasonal content up right at the start of the month because, like, it makes sense. Yeah, then it's got the longest kind of shelf life. You know, if I upload it now, then it's going to be relevant for the next 4 weeks. Whereas if you upload like 2 weeks into the season, a lot of people have already done their seasonal stuff and aren't looking for those kind of decks.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, this season is going to be longer because it's going to last until December the 10th. So
December 10th?
Yes.
Wow, I have enough time to get pro rank again. Yes.
But you said you made a point spam Skellige list, and I already when somebody says Skellige point slam, I just hear merchants saying, "Oh, me play Burrs."
Yeah, the list is actually because cards aren't really going to your graveyard. There's no point playing Second Wind. So it's a Patricidal Fury deck because when you play that, you get an 11-point resilient unit.
Plus,
and then you put 3 units that aren't resilient on the other side of the board, and then you can also then use Bloodthirst synergies. So you can play things like Svanrigga and Champion's Charge. So you've got toll removal because a lot of people are playing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, big
toll cards,
toll units.
Yeah, so it's Yeah, so it's not a bad list either. I think it's like a little bit less interactive, but you know, you can still find wins with it. I think the engine list is just disgusting, but the point slam list is pretty fun too. And again, toll units. So you've got things like you've got your Olaf. You can then play U-turn stuff, and like, you know, basically try and get big points of carryover. So that's kind of the strategy there, is just play big cards and then just 2-0 as well. It's always 2-0.
Yeah, I think the best part about
Seasonal's 2-0 all the time.
Yeah, but the best part about it is you make up your mind. You're like, okay, I'm going to 2-0. And you know, you keep playing cards, and at some point you are just like, is he playing Equinox?
When's it coming? Come on, Equinox. Can you find it?
Like, you're waiting. Is it coming? Is it there yet? Are we there yet?
It was so funny when I played Equinox, and my opponent just forfeited.
Yeah, because it's
well.
Like,
you've already lost.
I think seasonal would be actually like better if they disabled Equinox to be played in the seasonal mode, because it just defies your whole strategy and the purpose of this mode.
But I mean, it's also a 0-point play, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But you know, when you have, let's say, only 20-30 points carryover and your opponent has 60-70 because they purified one of your rows, well, I guess it's game over.
But like, so the thing with the purify is like, if you can purify theirs and win round 1, you'll win. But if you don't win round 1, because obviously the resilience only lasts until round 2. So then, let's say you win round 2 from carryover, you'd still then have to set up carryover for round 3. So it's like, Equinox is interesting in that if you win round 1 and you have Equinox, you win. Like, but if you lose round 1 with Equinox, there's still a chance, depending on how the round 2 and stuff goes and how much carryover you have and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's one of the things
I
I love
like
about
that Porto is essentially no value in Season 0. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
never
really
see
Portal's
Porto.
still
Yeah.
no, it's still worth running in Northern Realms engine. So my engine list does have Portal because it just gives you those extra, like the boost friend or the Lyrians, like the Lyrian Arbalist or the I forget what it's called now on the spot. You also get the Redanian Knight and stuff. So you're just getting extra engines on the board to give you the points. Like I think it's still worth running for the thinning, and then if you're running engines, you can do Roche, Hengdaith sword stuff. So it doesn't really matter that it's playing like you're not getting the 6 points of carryover from those 2-3 point units because you're just getting some extra engines and you're thinning your deck so that you're getting more value out of Hengdaith and Roche. But I would say that in most other decks, it's probably not worth running Portal because you don't get the sticky cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Portal
Makes sense.
carryovers as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you get a
It's just-
Portal that'll just come across.
Yeah, but
the next
it
round.
Why
can be a
not?
problem because if a lot of units carry over and then you have
Yeah.
Portal, it's just dead
Yeah.
space. You
It's
only
that
have,
space, exactly.
let's say, 18 slots. And then Portal takes one of them, and then it's the Sword takes another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at that point, you've killed all of their units.
By that point, you've already won and they've already forfeited, so it's fine.
It's fine. You already win.
Yeah, it's kind of how I feel whenever I play a rank or casual and just queue against dwarves. I'm like, okay, they're just gonna kill all my units.
Yeah, the dwarf mirror is the worst. It's like whoever has first say and has justice, they will win.
Yeah, that's it. Game over.
They put all their dwarves on the board, and then you're like, well, by the time I put all my dwarves on the board, they'll start shooting us full of holes.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really like about this expansion, this patch is, before, like, in general in Homecoming when I tried playing, I felt like we just slam cards and whoever has more points wins. But now I can feel like, oh, my opponent play around me. Like there's a strategy to it. There's like a deeper meaning to all those games. Like, oh, or this is just a bad matchup. I have to play it differently. It feels like the old beta feeling where skilled actually mattered is back.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Although control's a bit like you can't really play control so much anymore, which is in some ways a shame. Like, don't get me wrong, I prefer an engine meta to a control meta because I think there's more decision making in terms of triggering your engines and when to sequence them and stuff. But it does feel a little bit like because of the introduction of armor on top of the big nerfs that they did to control a little while back, that it's almost impossible to play a full controlled list. Like other than I think there's a Northern Realms, you can do Northern Realms control, but other than that, like Nilfgaard, even though it's like known for control, it doesn't really like
No,
you can't
it
really
doesn't
control
work, does it?
everything. You can do some enslave stuff and you can do some stuff if you get your Helga to stick with like assassinations and tourney joust and stuff, but it's kind of not full control. You've got like that assimilate hybrid, with Glynis and those kind of cards, Swears and stuff. So you never really feel like you're fully controlling them with Nilfgaard, which is how it used to feel. Nilfgaard kind of lacks archetypes, though. It's a bit sad.
Yeah, and to be honest, even if you are playing Enslave, you have to go for the greediest of greedy decks.
Yeah.
Like you have to play the defender, you have to play either Skellen or Damien, or in some cases even both. Like I've seen people playing Skellen, Damien, and Kingslayer.
Kingslayer, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it though.
Yeah, it's great in a, like,
really
if you are
cool.
going all in assimilate and you play True Bribery, of course it's amazing.
With Glynis, yeah.
Like-
I love the mirror though, and it's like you bribery, and then you get another Damien, and then like the way that you sequence it, you enslave, like you kidnap their Damien,
Oh
and
my
then you
God.
bribery, or their let's say you kidnap their Stefan, and then you bribery, and then you get a Damien, and then you use the Stefan to replay bribery, and then you get like another Stefan, and then usually they forfeit at that point, and I'm always really upset. I'm like, come on, let me just see how many Stefans and Damiens I can get here. Like, how many of your cards are going to be mine? But at that point, they're just like, get me out of this game.
There is no space left on the board.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Triple Bribery with enough engines, it can just
brutal.
give you so many points. And I even made a clip. I was playing against Skellige, and Skellige has a way to purify your defender, but they usually don't have enough control to deal with Stefan and Kingslayer. So Triple Bribery, and I think I got Harold, then I got Yuda, that was not the tallest unit. That just was 12 points, and then my opponent had like a 15-point priest, and I rolled Morgvark.
Oh.
And
Ouch.
so my opponent like played his last card, then just BM'd, then just waited, and then out the fort.
But this is like how you can double bribery Louisa Savola combo and stuff, and that's how you
It's
beat.
possible.
Oh,
That's how you beat
that actually
Novigrad.
happened to me the other day. I was devastated.
Yeah, I don't know, but then sometimes you get 3 bronzes, and you're just
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah,
Well,
that's also
Yeah,
true.
I get 3
The thing
bronzes.
is-
No one I play gets 3 bronzes.
With all these good gold cards added to the game, bribery has become better.
Yeah,
So
you couldn't not run it.
it's the
I
chance
don't.
of getting a bronze card is lower than
I
Yeah,
mean,
you
my-
couldn't
my
not run it and win.
yeah.
I
I think
mean, my
that's fair.
slave
It's like
was
8
doing well.
provisions as well. It's not super
It's very
expensive.
cheap.
And it's a tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slave.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's very valuable.
basically why bribery is popular is one, it's the overall power level of the game. Like a lot of great golds were added, but not only golds, like some bronze are still a lot of value. And they can break even on bribery. Plus, they decoupled damage from body. So people are running at least a few more specials in their decks. So the pool of the cards you're gonna roll with bribery is much smaller.
Yeah.
That's true.
And as already said, it's only 8 provisions.
Yeah, this was like during Challenger. I think it was Deborkis was saying like he has a bribery for against Arrakis, the swarm deck that was happening with Glusty,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Arrakis Queen, and he was saying like the odds of hitting your opponent's Glusty are like 23% or something, which is like pretty high. You know, to
you
get
take
something that completely counters their whole strat.
that. Instant quit.
I've done it before. I've briberied a Glusty, and it feels
Oh, yeah,
so
me
good.
too.
Yeah.
It feels
Oh,
so
it's a
good.
joyous feeling.
You
Goodbye,
feel
your
you feel a
entire
bit
plan.
bad, you know. You feel like a bad person, but in a good way.
It passes
I
quickly,
feel
though.
like bribery is gets the lowest value out of Syndicate because many cards just rely on coins they don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, of course, you can go full memory and get Luisa Savola, but that's rather unlikely. But most of the time, you get like, okay, I got Ewald, and I don't have coins.
Yeah. The Novigrad
Yeah.
matchup with a lot of
Like a 6
factions
for
match
8.
up with Syndicate's not good though. Like Skellige doesn't have a great matchup with Syndicate either. It's like here's a great big tall
Skellige
unit.
has a tough matchup against everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except Skellige.
Yeah.
And it's pretty even, I would say. But like, yeah, because they have the tall unit, so then it's like, well, they're just going to grade in my like Utah and get a 12-point boost and stuff.
Or
and get
Philippa,
really
your
good.
defender.
Yeah, there's all sorts.
Or
of
they
like-
have 2 defenders of their own.
Yep, and then everything is defended, and you can't trigger. And now they're also playing Portal because of the changes. So now they have the Seductresses again, because we missed them
Yeah.
for a whole month. We're like, you know what, this deck really needs more Seductresses.
Yeah, more
I'm not a
until-
huge fan of the card. I've never been. It reminds me of old Hawker Smuggler back in the beta. Whenever you play card, get boosted by 1. But now you have defenders, and it's like, oh, Portal defenders. Like, I guess I just lose.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Like, there are some issues, obviously, but
Yeah, of course.
overall, monsters especially is really diverse. You see Death Wish, you see Blood Scent, so vampires, you see Swarm, you see like bugs
Yeah,
and
little bit.
insects.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you see Thrive as well. So it's like, I feel like monsters is almost like that's maybe where you want to bring people that sort of level where there's like you can play a lot of different strategies would be the dream. But I mean, realistically, with 6 factions, are you ever going to get to that point unless you adjust the play 2 cards leaders? Like second wind maybe slightly less because you have to set it up. But it's the maneuver and
Inspiring Zeal.
and Mystic Echo.
Yeah.
Basically the leaders which allow you to play 2. Wild card is another one. 2 cards in one turn.
Wild card, yeah.
Because the game is balanced around playing 1 card in one turn, and then so then having leaders where you can like fill the board and stuff there's issues.
Yeah, I feel like the leader that gets probably the most value is actually the old Unseen Elder. I'm not sure what the ability is called right now. But it's a lot of value.
It's Shadow.
It's not important, but the value is insane because like you can just play Miruna,
Death
steal
Shadow.
something.
Death
That's already for 8 points.
Yeah.
I like
Just
Death Wish.
Miruna.
I think Death Wish is really fun to play. I played a lot of it last
Death Wish is
season.
And if you're playing Novigrad, Death Wish is just such a pain in the ass because whatever you remove just has a Death Wish effect.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's? Oh, it was so much fun. Like last season, I was playing stuff where you'd play Cave Troll. Like you win round 1, you go into round 2, you play Cave Troll, you play Keltulis, and then you pass, and then you watch them play cards, and then they just die. Yeah, because if they can't deal with the Keltulis, you play 2 cards, and then you win the round.
It's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, but that actually shows you that there is a problem with the defenders. They are overstated.
Yeah.
Like Cave Troll is 7+4. If you don't have Purify, like there is almost no way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, on the flip side, I would say Purify is useful regardless of defenders.
Yeah, I
Like
think you'd keep it.
it's
with
not
them
like
regardless.
it's not like even if you don't hit a defender, you won't get value from the purify. Like you can use it
Exactly.
to remove bounty, to remove poison, to remove bleeding, to remove vitality, to remove shields. Like there's a lot of
Locks.
locks as well. Yeah, there's a lot of. I
Yeah.
always forget about locks. Someone's like, "Why didn't you just
Yeah.
unlock it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah."
Yeah, the only problem is that not every faction has like a really good purify option.
Northern Realms is the worst one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they have-
Northern
they
Realms,
just-
it doesn't
they
need
just
help. Northern
slam
Realms is fine.
engines and then
Yeah.
kill the.
Just
kill
keep
the
going. It'll just kill it anyway. It's fine.
It's
Like
fine.
Skellige has amazing purify.
Yeah. Yeah, Skellige.
Syndicate has amazing purify.
Syndicates is great because it can just keep doing it over and over.
Skellige as well. Like if you are playing
Yeah.
organic cards, alchemy cards.
Alchemy
Yeah.
cards.
I mean, the assimilate Nilfgaard one's alright. Peller's kind of meh, but I mean, he does the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
true.
problem with Nilfgaard is that if you play Diviners, you kinda have to play RNG. You get the max value out of them because
Yeah,
otherwise
he-
it's just 4 for 5
Yeah.
plus purify.
With like diplomacy and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I mean, there's diplomacy's tactic, so it gets played, regardless of diviners. So you can always tech one in, and she's okay. Like the 5 provision 4 point with assimilate
Yeah.
and purify. It's not bad, but I don't think Nilfgaard. I don't know. Do you feel like Nilfgaard when you run it that you feel like you need purify when you play Nilfgaard? I don't know.
Depends. Personally, I play Universe
Just-
Invocation.
Just yoink them. just take
Yeah.
there.
Like you can yoink
Take
some of them.
their
You can yoink the
defender.
dwarf.
Yeah, invocation as well. You've got
You
options.
can like deal with the Javette in a way, like with the Swears and whatnot. Like, there is a way to do
Yeah.
that. It's problematic, but there is a way to do that. You can yoink the NR defender.
Yep.
Just
No,
joust,
but NR never
joust and
plays a
yoink.
defender because it's not worth it.
I was
though.
going to say there's no
It's
point
more
playing it.
engine.
It's just you don't include it, do you?
No,
Yeah, I
because
just-
like
I just-
Anymore, right? Yeah.
It's a defender.
why would
can
you
yoink
run it when you can just run more engines?
I think Cave Troll is really the problem because if you don't get the cards like Purify or Vilgefortz or Invocation, like you don't have a way to deal with the Cave Troll. It's
Yeah.
just
If you're-
Yeah, but that's in
If
general,
you're gonna
right?
name
If you
the
don't draw
cave
the card.
troll, what would you name him?
Oh yeah.
There's people complaining that he doesn't have a name.
I would call
You
him
should
Og.
definitely.
I would call him Og,
Orc.
and then make
Yeah.
a monster trio: Og, Pog, and what was the third one? Because
Wait,
there's
what's
like
Og, Pog?
With the dog.
three trolls.
Zog. Yeah.
I don't remember. There was those 3 trolls in The Witcher 3.
Yeah, Og,
They
Pog.
kind of
Yeah.
abducted Taller.
Oh
So
yeah.
I would make just monster
Yeah.
trio with the trolls. That would be
It
amazing.
would be cool though.
Yeah.
I think it should be a girl troll. You can call it like Agnes or something. I'm assuming that trolls.
There's
have one.
already a she-troll variant.
Yeah, do they have gender?
Yeah, but she's called She Troll, isn't she? She Troll of
Yeah.
Vergen.
Oh
So-
yeah. she's
But
probably
if you
good.
played
But-
The Witcher 2, she was an amazing character.
But you can't. But cave She Troll doesn't sound so good. So I think it can still be a lady troll. I've decided. I'm gonna rate to see.
Confirm.
But I don't know what's like a good girl troll name. Do trolls have gendered names? I don't know. I don't know
I
enough
don't
about
know.
trolls.
Yeah, me neither. Like the best troll name is obviously Trollolo.
Trollolo?
Trollolo,
Yeah, oh,
definitely
Trollolo is
Trollolo. 100%. He needs to be meta again. That was a good time back in the day.
But he's just named after that video, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they've just been like, yeah.
I mean, but they named the character in the Trollolo quest in The Witcher is pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's great fun.
Trollolo, he's so adorable. Even though he
Yeah.
says like
Isn't he?
Nilfgaard scum must die, and thus I really should like not like him as a
No, he's just
faction
so fun to
ambassador.
talk
He's
to.
so adorable, and he's so good at painting. If you like see his paint, like so in the quest, you can have like Geralt do the painting, or you can have Trollolo do the painting. And Geralt's painting is like hot garbage. It is not a good painting, and Trollolo is just like
Gifted.
I know he's like clearly talented. He needs to like quit his job as a was he like a Northern Realms guard or
Birdo.
whatever? It's like,
Yeah.
He
something like
goes
that.
with Birdo.
yeah.
So yeah,
So-
Gwent is pretty fun to play. There's very few problematic cards. And do you guys have the feeling that the mobile release will have like a major impact on Gwent? Because of course there's a lot of reviews, like people say, "Oh, it's amazing on iOS." But do you feel like it will have an impact or also on you as a content creator, as a streamer, or a YouTube content creator?
I think like the viewership for the startup videos has been really, really consistent. I've definitely been getting a lot more subs since I came back to YouTube. I think I've had like 300 new YouTube subs in the last week or so. Like,
Wow.
there's a lot of people coming in. The issue is like A, will they stay, and B, how much will CDPR advertise the game? You know?
I mean,
Yeah.
Because
It's doing well on the store, isn't it? It's like #1 card game at the moment, which is great. I've had a few people ask me about, oh, you play Gwent, right? We know. It's out on phone now. What is it worth playing?
Yeah, and the iOS version is really polished. Like, it looks really good, and
so smooth.
it runs really smooth. The issue I think Gwent has is like it's difficult to learn because there's so much reading and keywords and understanding what cards do and understanding how to play it and knowing when to pass, for example. Like, that's the biggest thing a lot of new players do. And so the question is, like, can new people overcome these hurdles? Because the rewards are very generous. You have your daily logins, you have your reward books. Like, the free-to-play model is good to get people to stick, but it's whether people can get over the initial learning curve of like having that little hummock of being overwhelmed by the game.
Yeah, the big challenge, I suppose, is people who know of Gwent because they played The Witcher 3. It's not even similar anymore.
Yeah, it's not even close.
One of my friends, when he was looking to start, he said, "Oh, so it's basically spies, right?" And I was like, "Oh, it's been so long.
I know,
it's been so long." And you have to sort of teach them every mechanic all over again.
Yeah,
just tell them to watch Jason Slummer's video, and they should be good.
Oh, his but
everything.
He's so much better when he's not scripted.
Oh yeah.
True.
It's a really helpful video, but I'm just like, oh, Jason.
Yeah, speaking of Jason, if you're watching, I sent you a message. Still waiting for a reply, man.
Why don't you answer me, Jason? Please respond.
No pressure.
Please respond. That's definitely going to work. He's definitely going to reply to you.
100%.
We are actually hassling Pavel about that. Just spamming Pavel. Like, we send a message to Jason. Just get him to reply to us.
Oh, he's like super busy. He has a lot.
Yeah, I know. And then
so.
he's recently had a baby. Like, it's just there's just so much going on for him. So we totally get it. But
this month was like super iOS focused as well. Like, and I think that's been very busy. Like at this patch, we didn't really see a lot of balance changes or a lot of new content because a lot of it was just focusing on the new player experience. So hopefully we'll see that improved as time goes on as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like Gwent has matured enough to be released on mobile? Was it the right moment?
Yeah, I think so. I think the game is in a really good state, and it's not like Homecoming where it just wasn't fun. The game is fun. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like a good size of cards in terms of the expansions. We've had 3 expansions. It's I think there's a gap. Especially with people being kind of anti-Hearthstone and anti-Blizzard at the moment. There's like a kind of gap for mobile CCGs because there's not a lot of big name options. I don't think MTG has a mobile one.
No.
Midgard,
no, it doesn't.
Midgard is kind of a thing, but Midgard's
we don't talk about Midgard on this show. I'm sorry, Woody.
And I think there's like an opportunity, with mobile. Mobile's a huge audience. The audience on mobile is very big, and there's people like to with microtransactions. Microtransactions are very common on mobile, so people are kind of used to it. With the kind of buying kegs and that sort of thing is very staple. And you'll notice, a lot of big name games are kind of moving towards mobile. Like you've got Fortnite now on mobile and PUBG. Then we've got Hearthstone. Like you're seeing big games suddenly realize, hey, mobile doesn't just have to be like Candy Crush and Minesweeper and like these little Flappy Bird or whatever the heck these kind of games are. Angry Birds and Happy Flappy Birds and all these kind of games. Like you can have something that's a bit more chunky, and especially with like we've got 4G, we've got 5G. Internet isn't really an issue. You can have that more or less wherever you go now.
No, that's true. Since I was worried about the launch. I was worried, are we going to have Sony now that it's cross-play with iOS as well as PC? But I've had actually less issues. If anything, I've had less discounts. So
I think it's a good time for iOS, and it makes sense to do iOS first because people on Apple devices are more used to spending money on apps than Android, right? Like when the App Store first came out, like you'd buy apps for 99p, right? You didn't have a lot of free apps, and so I feel like Apple users tend to be more likely to spend money than Android users. So if you're going to pick which one to develop for, I don't think that was I think it makes sense to go Apple and then Android. Although I feel for CDPR because every time there's a post about iOS, there'll be a comment on Twitter or on like forums.
Android when.
Android when, and it's like,
I looked at the comments on YouTube and it was all about Android.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and it's like I have an Android. I don't have an iOS. You
Yeah,
know,
me too.
like I got a OnePlus. You know, but I'm like I don't mind that Apple like people with Apple devices got the game first.
I don't mind it either.
I mean,
No, it's fine.
the reason why they develop for Apple is pretty obvious. It's just a single platform.
Yeah.
Whereas when you look at Android, there is countless manufacturers with different specs, and it's really hard to develop a game for all Android devices because you don't want anyone to feel left out. And then personally, I have an Android, and I can wait. Like,
Yeah.
There was a review though from someone with iOS who had like one that was like not supported because it was old, like a 5 or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were like, 1 star, doesn't work on my device. And it's like,
Your device is older than Gwen. Get over it.
yeah, pretty much. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people can be a little bit entitled, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But I'm sure when we see Android, it'll be good. You know, they do have an Android build. I think like it's not like they're not working on it.
Yeah, it's next
It's
year. I
just
think
like-
it's being released. Isn't it?
They're meant to be early 2020, I think.
Yeah, the first quarter, I think.
Mm.
I'm quite excited because I quite like the idea of sometimes you just want to play one game of Gwen, like play a couple rounds rather than like go and boot up your computer and sit down and like
Yeah.
maybe
Or
you're chilling
sometimes
watching
you just want to log in
TV
to
or
get a
something.
daily reward.
You get your daily rewards or like check something.
Grinding those rewards, man.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
It's
enjoying
very
having access
useful,
to it
it's
on
just-
mobile. It is
And
good.
I'm not sure how long it's gonna last, but now you have the bonus XP events, like where every single day is a different faction.
Oh yeah.
I hope
like a
I hope
Halloween
it
event,
won't be
right?
a regular thing because I don't want to just skip Gwent on, let's say, Friday because that's when Skoyato is. Like if it's just a one-time thing because of the mobile release, then it's great. But I don't want it to be every single day of the week.
The XP
Yeah, I
boost.
mean, it can influence the meta. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like events that influence meta. I feel like
like
it's slightly problematic. I mean, like Monsters Day, you should just tech in like cards that counter.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes it a bit too easy, doesn't it?
and it kind of incentivizes you to play other factions. That's one thing that I built my own stream around because. Well, with Homecoming and with how the ladder works and Pro Ladder works, you are kind of forced to play other factions. Whereas I always played one faction, so that's what I built my stream around. Like people call me, oh, why don't you play Skoyato? Because I only play Novigrad. Why don't you play NR? Do I look like a barbarian to you? I only play Novigrad.
See, people get cross at me when I don't play Novigrad, and I'm like, I also comment. Like, I'm also a commentator. Like, I can't just play one faction. Well, we're casting Scoretel versus Syndicate. And I know
out.
nothing about these games. Well,
yeah.
Have you heard of our Lord and Savior, the Great Sun?
You should genuinely do that. It'd be fantastic.
Being faction ambassadors, like some people are really passionate about Nilfgaard, but like too much so. Someone complained on my YouTube video that I read what the Nilfgaard cards did on like a deck guide. I was like, so should I just like not tell you what the cards do? I'll just assume that you know everything about Gwent, and then
don't need this guide.
Yeah, why are you watching a guide? And I'm also impressed that someone sat down and watched the video for the sheer purpose of complaining about me as a faction ambassador.
I love the internet.
I was like, come on.
And we are slowly getting to that topic of you being a faction ambassador. But first, I would like to ask actually all of you, because the community is now thrilled. Like the challenger was amazing. The game is balanced. Expansion is great. We have a mobile release. Like everything's like just super and amazing and very nice. But how long do you think this goodwill is gonna last? Because we all know that the community has had its swings in the past.
Well, the community gets angry about absolutely nothing.
People are getting angry because there's no competitive scene at the moment.
Oh, that's a big issue. That's fair to say.
It is a big problem, isn't it? There's no news.
I hope that it will be announced before like Android is like released, Gwent on Android. I hope it will be announced before that.
I think the goodwill, like, it depends on how the next kind of couple not expansions but patches go. What's coming just before Christmas, for example. You're saying this season is a longer one, which I guess makes sense to have like a month and a half and then a month and a half to cover the holiday period. But what is going to happen with World Masters, for example? Where's that going to be? Are people going to be able to go and like watch because I think people are quite passionate about Gwent. And when people came to the Challenger, I was awesome. I felt like I was so busy because of casting. I didn't always get to talk to people, which I felt kind of bad about. But having that atmosphere of the crowd was great. Like whenever Shoop was playing, people would be like Shoop, like the whole audience was just like shouting, and
So
having
lot of
that
fun.
sort of feel was good. But it kind of depends on what happens going forward here, and I guess part of that depends on how iOS goes. So that if CDPR feel like more encouraged to invest into the game, I guess is where we're kind of at. And that's kind of going to dictate things like season 2 as well. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Hold our breath.
Ask specific. Yeah, BJ, go on.
Yeah, Bush has said that it's gonna be there season 2, but just the question when.
And then
will there still be a community here waiting?
Yeah, and in kind of what sort of capacity, I guess. Like, if iOS is like, picks up and you see a big influx in players and a big influx in revenue, then at that point it makes sense to invest more into esports. Whereas if it's kind of more quiet, then, it maybe means that we'll see like smaller tournaments or smaller prize pools and stuff. So I don't know. I can't tell you guys anything because I don't know anything, but I'm hopeful. I feel like I hope we hear something, especially because I know at least within TLG, for example, the competitive players, like they're really grinding the Pro Ladder. Like I think the last 5 Pro Ladder seasons, TLG have been number 1. Like someone from TLG, whether it be like Alessio or Beardy or someone else who I forget. I apologize, TLG person who I've forgotten. But like they have a lot of passion for competitive Gwent, but they need something to work towards. And I think that's the case where a lot of the community, like a lot of people who want to be competitive or like, I'm happy to get to Pro Ladder and just chill in the Pro Ladder, but the people who want to grind the Pro Ladder and be the best and play the best decks, and that they don't have a huge goal at the moment, and that's a shame, especially with like World Masters already having people qualified for it, some of whom qualified like 2 years ago.
Like
people don't even play the game anymore.
He hasn't actively played the game since Midwinter. He got back for like a day or two when Hong Kong dropped, and that's it.
I mean, that's not surprising. Midwinter wasn't good.
No, to be fair, I don't think many people played longer than a day, but still.
Yeah, and to be honest, when people heard that this season is gonna be so long, that they thought like mid-December, another Midwinter, please no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I asked specifically about the community because you have some experience of your own. Shortly before the Challenger, there was a very negative post about you as a faction ambassador, and then a month later, Reddit was praising you for your work.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if I saw that. I got to the point where I stopped Reddit because it was a very negative place, and they really didn't have good things to say about me. And like, I kind of get it because with the faction ambassador thing, I hadn't been playing or streaming because it wasn't in a good place, mental health wise, to do it. And so I was looking after me, and fair enough. I got why people were upset, but also we do a lot of work with faction ambassadors behind the scenes, with talking to CDPR. And bear in mind, it's like a community rolling. We don't get paid or anything. I mean, I don't expect to get paid, but it's something that we do out of passion for the game.
Yeah.
And some people, honestly, they just have like some kind of justice boner against me for that faction ambassador thing. So I kind of got to the point where I mute and block a lot of people. Like if people are very negative with no kind of constructive feedback, I've reached the point where I'm like, nah, you can like.
Yeah, it's pointless. You don't need that.
So I kind of stopped going on the Reddit at all. I just didn't go there. I was like, you know what, it's not good for my mental health, and there's no point reading the things that people have to say. And then like, recently then when I did all the star videos, someone posted like, oh, these are great, and I was just like, oh.
It was a really nice post. I read
yeah, it was.
It was really wholesome. It was like, oh my, that's exactly.
Yeah, and since then, like when I've seen a few people like recommending the starter videos to other people, like my content, which is always very exciting. So I think I get why people were upset about the whole faction ambassador thing, but at the same time, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. Like the faction ambassadors, we don't do that much. Like how often is it relevant that Pumpkin is Scoia'tael ambassador, or like I guess Ocean Mud only plays monsters, so that makes sense. But like McBeard is Northern Realms. Like what are we really doing other than making content, which partners do as well? And a lot of people are now Gwent partners, and they can promote their content. So I get like some people are like, she has this tag, but like I don't think it was as big of a deal as people made it out to be. But then now I make content and everyone's happy, so it's fine.
That's
Although
true.
some people are still not happy, but you know.
You
That
always
will never
say
change.
Some people
everyone,
are never
so-
happy. And
Yeah, no,
whenever,
I think-
and whenever I'm to post something on Reddit, I always try to look at other threads and see in what kind of mood Reddit is today. Because if Reddit is already
sometimes they're just
if
not
Reddit is
happy.
already
It's
positive,
just not worth it some days.
Yeah.
No.
if they are already positive and you actually have a legit complaint, are you gonna post it or is it gonna get downvoted to oblivion?
Yeah.
Or or maybe there's something really nice you saw in Gwent and you wanna post that, but Reddit 7 is a bad day, and you're like, okay, if I post something positive, it's gonna get downvoted. There's no point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing with voting also on Reddit is like it depends on where you're at when people come in. So like if a couple people downvote
True.
you, suddenly people see it and I'm like, oh, this is downvoted, and it gives them a negative perspective of the post. Or if they come in and something's upvoted, it gives them a positive perspective of the post. And the other thing is people who don't care or are happy are very unlikely to say anything. Like more often than not, people will say something if they're unhappy. But if people are the vast, silent majority who don't say anything are content. So you have to, in terms of community feedback, you have to kind of take it with a pinch of salt. Like I don't look at really community feedback on Reddit for casting or anything like that. Because I feel like the people who enjoy the cast, I get DMs from people who are like, oh, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And I get feedback from CDPR, this is where you can improve. This is where you can do better. But a lot of the feedback with casting that is negative tends to be stuff like, oh, she explains what the cards do. But the thing with casting is the cast isn't just for pro players. The cast isn't just for the people who play Gwent at the highest level. The cast is for everyone.
Yeah.
And then people are saying, oh, well, now we have the overlay, so why is she explaining what the cards do? People can just look. But some people are going to watch the broadcast sat on their sofa, and just watch it.
Or on YouTube.
Or see it on the front page and be like, what's going on? And they maybe don't know about the overlay. So you need to talk about things like what cards do in basic interactions to explain deck strategies for that audience, whilst also giving more in-depth input for the broader audience. And bearing in mind, like, I'm a color commentator, whereas Panda is typically meant to be more kind of do the insight and the analysis and that side of things, whereas I'm there to make stupid jokes and
You need that balance,
explain
though, otherwise
cards,
it
but
wouldn't work.
have the back and forth. And I'm like, I don't get really too kind of upset about feedback anymore. I used to, but now I'm kind of like, casting is more than just being a streamer. So you see people who are like, this person should be a caster, this person should be a caster. But streaming and casting are very, very different. Like, there are some crossovers, but at the end of the day, I think that Panda and I do a good job. I think that we have a proven track record and we are reliable and consistent, and that's something that CDPR value, right? And like, are there other people in the community who would be good casters? I'm sure there are. The problem at the moment is we just don't have the opportunities for everyone, right?
Yeah, but there's a good chemistry between the two of you, and it's enjoyable to watch because you play off each other quite well. You have different roles, but that's good. That's what should happen if you were both the same.
I would rather be polarizing than not have people remember you, right? Like the pun thing. I get some people don't like puns. That's totally fine. I'm not trying to like.
We nearly fell out earlier. It's fine.
I'm not trying to like, tell you what you have to like or dislike. But some people really like the puns. Like, I get messages from people being like, you should make more puns. How do you come up? Like, some people really, really enjoy them. And then I get other people being like, oh, she's so cringe. Oh, she doesn't say puns. And I'm like, who am I supposed to be appeasing here? Like, the people who want you're never gonna make everyone happy.
The happy people.
Yeah, you can make everyone happy.
And it's the same like with Mogwai. Some people really love Mogwai, and some people really dislike Mogwai's style of casting because he was very hype and shouty and energetic, and it was just oozing passion. And some people felt like it was over the top, and some people didn't. But there's always going to be the situation where some people like you and some people don't, and it's not worth getting hung up over the community, the people who aren't happy. As long as CDPR is happy, I'm pretty happy, and that's at the end of the day, that's kind of how it is. And, if people don't like you, not everyone's going to like everything. You could be like the juiciest peach in the world and some people just don't like peaches, right?
Yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's really nice to see that the casters are like very diverse from each other. Otherwise, it will be very still, I think.
I think
the same, right?
The casting is good, and it's very different. Like, me and Panda are going to be different.
Yeah.
Flake and McBeard, and that's okay. And like, you can prefer Flake and McBeard, you can prefer me and Panda, you can like none of us. Like, that's totally fine. But I do think people get hung up on like things like, oh, the casters their game knowledge isn't there. I don't think that's really fair. I think our game knowledge is pretty good. I mean, yeah, we're not pro players, we're not grinding the ladder, we're not playing to like the super highest level of Gwent, but that's not the point of our job. Our job is to facilitate the broadcast to a general audience. Like if you know everything about Gwent, the casters aren't really there for you. Like we're not there to tell you things that you already know. That doesn't make any sense. Usually there's community rebroadcasts of people who are very analytical, and if that's what you want, then you can watch the community streamers. I
mean, we actually have analysts.
I know we do, and the analysts are fantastic. They're so good.
I love the duo of Shimiri and Green Cricket.
Oh, Cricket was dropping.
He seemed a little bit nervous at first.
I really just like, this is shit, and I was just like, oh my god.
Yes.
Oh, well, then I was talking about, was it Jan's Wang at one point? Because I was trying to say Wang's Yan, like, because he was playing Yan, and I said Jan's Wang, and
yeah, it's gone now, that's it.
Yeah, that was really funny. And when you said somebody played Syndicate, and Slice and Dactris was on board, and he's the guy didn't kill one of them, and he was like, oh, because he respects women.
Yeah, he does. Coleman respects women. Oh dear.
Good times.
It's like, I don't know, it's fun. I always have fun with it. I always feel a bit nervous because we had 6 months between events. Like sometimes when we have that big break, I'm like, when I first start, I'm always feel a little bit nervous. And then as the tournament goes on, you just relax and you get into the zone, and then, you're having a good time. I really enjoyed casting this. It was a Coleman versus Tailbot. That's it. I had such a fun time on the, was it end of day one? And then, in the semifinals, they were like, some sets you always feel good and some sets you feel bad. And I think I beat myself up over little mistakes more than anyone else will. Like, I don't think people realize that. That's people say things, and I will have like agonized about that internally a lot. But then sometimes you just gotta put it aside and kind of get on with things. Yeah, I love casting. I really enjoy it. I always have a really good time at events, and I kind of wish there was. I wish there was more events, and I do wish there was opportunities for other people as well to cast, or just even to cast like from home. Like have community events where I can kind of keep up to keep up to scratch, keep up to practice, but also and opportunities to cast with other people, because I love casting with Panda, don't get me wrong, we work really well, but sometimes it would be fun to like, I can't even imagine me and Flake as a casting. That would be such
oh god,
can you imagine? It would be incredible. I'd love to watch it, but I don't know how productive.
No, I know. I don't think it would work in like a big tournament kind of like World Masters scenario. But I think in terms of like a
community tournament, that'd be great.
Or like if we had a show match that was like McBeard versus Panda, and then me and Flake could cast it, I would just be the best.
That would be hilarious.
That should happen. That should be a thing.
But it's going to be absolute nonsense. Like I know the sort of nonsense that Flake talks, and I know the sort of nonsense that I talk. So.
I would definitely watch that. I just wish that I want a community tournament. I really hope, because there are so many content creators looking
you're cutting out.
Do things.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just hoping that we get a community tournament client, because there are so many people creating content and all these tournaments, the Oddball tournament and the one that's going on now, and it would be great if we could use those things.
Well, Spectator's really good, like the one that we use in broadcast. But I know it's not a priority because like they want to get new player content and that kind of thing first, and then it's kind of on the back burner a little bit. So hopefully we will see it in the future. But
you know what we should get? A reverse tournament where the casters and analysts play each other, and the pro players are doing the casting.
I don't know.
Oh wow, that'd be brutal.
I'm trying to think like. Of the pro players, who would be the best at casting? Who's like the most talkative?
Perhaps.
Yeah, DeMarcus is a good choice. He's quite chatty.
Talker. Yeah.
Like Coleman's quiet. Talbot's quiet. Adzakov is quiet.
Freddy, perhaps.
Yeah, Freddy could be quite good.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they're good at playing. Right?
Chessie would be an amazing caster.
I mean, Chessie has done casting before.
Yeah.
He has casted something before, hasn't he?
Unfortunately, he quit Gwent.
Yeah.
But before he did, he brought Shelmar to the tournament, for which I'm very thankful.
Oh, I hate turning Shelmar. I hate it.
I love it. I was playing it before it was popular.
Come here, dog. Nope.
But speaking of tournaments, there is a segment we have to talk about, and there's going to be a lot of not so fun topics in that segment.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Lionheart, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So obviously there have been some revelations in the Gwent community or accusations around win trading and how that's potentially happening on the pro ladder. And just wondering what are the thoughts of everyone really? How do you react to that? Because the pro ladder and the pro community is quite tight knit, and obviously we're very keen to see new seasons and things like that. But how do we think that's going to affect the game in general?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can do.
I don't think that the way whoever made the video went about it is the right way to deal with these things. I think if you have concerns or evidence or issues regarding win trading or anything like that, the way to approach that is to contact CDPR and talk to them. Not let's make a video stirring the pot, causing drama, and making it a topic of community discussion. You know, when the whole Proneo thing happened, I don't think Freddie should have been talking about it publicly at all. I think he should have been speaking to CDPR. And in this instance, I think the same. Like, if this whole tie trading thing is an issue, you speak to CDPR, they investigate it, they take action. That's like how things are dealt with professionally. I mean, I get that like people love a little bit of drama, but in my perspective, that's not the way to deal with it. I think if people are cheating, there should be consequences if you can catch them. But I also think there's an incentive. You know, if you can get an edge, there's money on the line. You know, and some people are gonna try and take that advantage if they can get away with it. That's just the nature of the beast. And
it's true.
There's always gonna be issues with a ladder system. You know, if you can match into someone that you know and have them give you MMR by quitting, then that's a problem. But then I also think a ladder system is good for, you know, just the average player and for the health of the game. But maybe you need a ladder system that then feeds into, say, like a round robin tournament or something like that. Like with a Swiss stage. So let's say the top 64 people on the pro ladder then go into a tournament or something like that.
That's a great idea. I actually think great idea.
So then,
still,
you know,
accessibility, but then some accountability as well. I think that's really good.
And it also means that if there are incidences of cheating, it will be less impactful because all they're going to be able to do there is qualify into a tournament where they still have to show their prowess and their skill.
Completely,
I think the wild card slots, the tournament slots for the tournaments, are a great thing to have. And in some ways, I almost feel like maybe it should be, you know, 6 or 4 or 6 slots rather than just the 2 that we have.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think like throwing mud at people or trying to accuse people of things is a good way to deal with these things. And I also don't think that other people cheating, if they are cheating, should somehow unban Proneo. Like, it's not like, oh well, they were bad and they still get to play, therefore you should unban me. It's like if they were bad, they should also have consequences. Not you can come back, you know? And like, I met Proneo. Like, Proneo's chill. He's fine. But like, evidently there was issues with, you know, his community, and there was evidence of win trading. And I don't know why he was streaming it. That's really silly. But
yeah,
you know, you can't do these things and then be like it's unfair. Like, there are rules. You know, there's rules. When you get into pro ladder, you have to be like, I agree to the rules, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm not going to say, you know, accuse people of things because I don't know enough about it. I haven't watched the video. I think the video was in Russian anyway. And I've seen a certain level of conversation. So I don't know, you know. But I think if there are concerns, you should these people should be speaking to CDPR. They shouldn't be making videos and stirring the pot and making it like what they're trying to do is leverage pressure on CDPR by making it a community issue.
Making it more public.
Yeah, and I don't think that's an appropriate way to deal with things, personally.
No, that's valid. No, that's completely valid. I just do we think it's going to have an impact on people looking to play professionally? Do we think it'll be something that's going to concern people, or do we think because of the nature of the way it's been done, it's you know, it's dramatic and it'll sort of be moved on from? I've seen a lot of different streamers have been discussing it and making reference to the video, some quite comically. Just do we think it'll just sort of disappear?
Yeah, I think that, you know, content creators actually turning this into a joke or something that has an insane meme potential is actually some sort of damage control.
Yeah.
Because you would expect content creators to have a very serious opinion on the matter and really dive deep into it. But then you watch guys like Trynet, who obviously has quite a lot of viewers and has a significant impact on the community. And then he's wearing a fake polygraph.
Oh, come on. Like, if you're going to do a polygraph in a video...
you've got to expect it, haven't you? It's not the Jeremy Kyle show.
Like... I did a polygraph and it shows I'm not a cheater. Haha, gotcha.
Yeah.
But the best thing that came out of it is you are watching a stream and the streamer is losing, and then they look at the opponent's name and they get like, wanna tie?
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, there's been memes like I know like with Spirit's stream he tied a game and I was like, oh, he's tie trading. He's definitely tie trading here. And I think you know what, people are always going to make jokes about these things. There's always going to be a certain like level of humor. But I don't know. Like, I don't think this is the biggest issue competitive Gwent has, just because at the moment everyone's worried about competitive Gwent's future.
Yeah, does it exist? Yeah.
You know, that's more of an issue to me than kind of competitive Gwent in general. And then also all this tie trading and stuff, it happened like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, I was going to say the footage is quite old as well, isn't it?
Like 2017, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the relevancy of it, you know, like why is it suddenly now that people are discussing it? You know, I mean, I don't think it's a good thing, but you know, with these seasons, what impact have they had? You know, did it cause these players to qualify for tournaments that have then led on to this tournament? You know, you can't go back and disqualify them from a tournament that's already happened.
Yeah, that's true.
It actually reminds me of politics in a way. You know, like sometimes you have a politician and the media go like, oh, back when he was 16, the honorable gentleman did that.
Yeah, you see that a lot, like digging through people's like Twitter histories and all that kind of thing, and be like, well, you know, this long ago they were a bad person. But I mean, I guess it's recent enough and relevant enough that it's not quite the same. You know, the things that I said when I was 16 compared to now is a bit different compared to you know, things that happened in Gwent 2 years ago that have led into a tournament. But it also, the person who's like promoting this is clearly doing it to try and support Pro Neo.
Yeah, there's an agenda there, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's not for the good of Gwent that
so
it might have an impact on other decisions.
It's difficult, and like with like some of the screenshots that I've seen, like things have been covered up or blurred out, so it's like people have been altering evidence to a certain extent. So it's like, you know, what is it that you don't want people
to... an agenda.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So I don't know. I like I said, I haven't looked into it hugely. I haven't watched the video. I've seen like some discussion on Discords and streams and stuff, so I know the kind of basic overview of what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be like, oh, this person deserves this or this person. It's not our decision to make.
Place, is it? Yeah, we shouldn't be making that call.
Like, ultimately, it's up to CDPR. CDPR have said they'll look into it. So
yeah,
that's fair. No, I think your point. The biggest thing is it's not the biggest issue with competitive Gwent, is it? It's can Gwent survive without a thriving competitive scene? If it's not going to have season 2 information, how much, you know, what comes then? Like, as a content creator, you couldn't keep making new content, could you?
So I think the issue with season 2 is like, so CDPR obviously haven't said anything about it, like other than it's happening. We haven't got details, and people keep wanting details. But ultimately, if the current generation of competitive players, the people who are currently, you know, tryharding, if they leave, there'll be a new wave behind them. Like if CDPR then announce a tournament, it's not like there's not going to be anyone to compete. You know,
that's true.
Exactly.
So I feel like the players have more at stake than CDPR, and that's why there's this kind of disconnect. Because the people who I agree, I think these, like, CDPR doesn't owe the players a season 2.
No,
but I feel like it would be good to communicate with the community because it's a community issue, and that's not good. Like, but at the end of the day, if they don't, how harmful is it going to be for the game and for the game overall? It's going to maybe be harmful for these people, and they might leave, and that's bad. I don't know. It's kind of hard to think about it in kind of a devil's advocate kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what most people are kind of worried about is what I would call the third exodus of Gwent players. Because first we had Midwinter, and a lot of content creators and players left around that time. Then we had Homecoming, and Gwent took a huge hit when it comes to Twitch viewership, the size of the player base, and so on. And right now we are kind of an okay spot. Like, we are not losing players or viewership, but we are also not like growing immensely. And I think that, whenever we hear about players trying out Mythgard or Legends of Runeterra or any other game, we are kind of afraid. Okay, if nothing's happening, if there's no season 2, if there's no positive news, those players, those content creators, will leave the game, and we are basically back to square one.
Yeah,
I agree. I think there's definitely concerns, and I feel like CDPR should say something.
Yeah,
but I mean, maybe if they're waiting on the impact of mobile, hopefully we'll hear something soon. But maybe they should have just said, we're waiting to see, how mobile impacts, the game as to how much resources or how we invest into season 2. That's kind of like the way you could do it. We want to make season 2 as good as it can be, so we want to know kind of where we're going to be at when season 2 comes around, and then at least they've said something.
Yeah, anything will be better than silence.
Yeah,
we want to know if they are like working on it or not. Like,
Yeah, normally you would say no news is good news, but in this case, I don't think that saying applies.
No, quite the opposite.
Yeah, I think it's a budgetary issue to a certain degree, because they invest a lot in converting Gwent to mobile, even though a couple of months ago they said they don't have plans to do so. And we had Pavel here on Merchants of Novigrad, and he said that they kinda blew out way too much money on the season 1 and all those events in special places, like the castle or the former salt mine and stuff like that. And then when he told us what they had in their plans for a Challenger 5, going to Romania and renting another castle, and basically huge things that require a lot of money, and I think now they kind of have to figure out how to do season 2 on a limited budget.
Yeah,
I think they promised too much with season 1, and it's kind of come back to bite them. Like, even with things like prize pools, this next tournament's what, $250,000, and that would fund 25 $10,000 tournaments.
Yeah,
if you think about it like that, then it's kind of crazy. And I think this is just an issue in esports in general, that there's too much money at the top. So even for the people who qualified for, say, Challenger, if you win, you get $60,000, and if you win a couple rounds in the first round but go from there, you win $2,000. Like, the distribution is not very. I don't think it should be even. Obviously if you win, you should get more, but I don't think it should be as extreme as it is, because ultimately you want players to be able to survive and basically have this as a career. Plague tournaments, that's how they make their money. But if the disparity between winning and losing is $60,000, some places that's 3 years' salary.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
If not more. So,
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah, but it depends. It depends where you live, right? It could be 1 year. It could be probably more than 1 year. But but that, whereas someone else is taking home maybe $2,000, and it just seems like the disparity is too big. It used to be Challenger 3, if you lost, you got nothing, absolutely nothing.
I'm glad they changed that.
And now you get, I think, $1,000. But I feel like they could put that up, for the people who qualify, just because at the end of the day, getting to a Challenger or getting to an event is difficult in and of itself. And if you skim a little bit off the top and spread it down, the person who wins is still getting some of the money that comes down. So it's not like you're taking as much of them as it looks. So I don't know. That's, in my opinion, I think with esports, you should have the money more spread out across people in order to support the scene, because it's healthier to do that, because then people can invest their time.
Yeah, it's more sustainable then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I think.
I suppose the one positive, I know they'll be disappointed that they couldn't rent the castle in Romania, but the challenge that just happened was, but it was my one I enjoyed the most. The one that we've just had looks like the most fun, and it's the one that's had the most positive reaction. So at least it went well, and the community were engaged. And while it was lower budget, it came across really well.
Yeah.
So at least that's positive, and they can take that and think, well, we don't maybe have to go quite as crazy, and we could have more tournaments, but at smaller budget.
I wouldn't mind. It's
And
just
yeah,
that
more
they want to
online
compete
host
with other
ones.
card games too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they also have the studio, like
Oh,
the at the CDPR HQ. So like, I feel like that's a underutilized resource. You know, it's when we have the opens there. You know, they run like clockwork. We've done it a lot. It's very kind of what's sort of like consistent. Like people know what to do. People know where to be. Casters like are comfortable there. You're not like you know we know the employees who we're working with. Like when we did the challengers that are away, they work with ESL to do the broadcast. Whereas when you do it in house, you know we're working with the same people every open. So it's like you get familiar with the staff. You get familiar with the whole process. You get to know people. So I feel like they should utilize the space that they have, especially like they actually just bought the office. So they didn't buy more space, but the office that they actually have been renting for the last few years, where CDPR is based, they now bought it, so they have more
That's good.
like creativity to utilize that space in different ways. So we'll have to see, you know, what happens if that's going to have an impact or not. I don't know.
Hope so.
Lionheart, it's your segment.
Well, in terms of competitive Gwent, there's really much else to discuss because there's no new Masters. It's problematic, but hopefully we'll get more news. That's the issue.
Yeah.
World Masters will be after Christmas. I can't see it happening before Christmas. Like everyone's going on holiday. It's November. It's not been announced. I reckon it'll be early next year.
Yeah, we are getting another expansion before Christmas because they work
Are we?
3-month development schedule. So it seems like there might be another expansion around Christmas.
Well, the last one was the start of October, so would it not be after Christmas?
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if they don't link it in with the Android.
You kind of have to market it, and Christmas is also when people are more likely to spend money on bundles and stuff like that. So I guess if they are dropping expansion, it's gonna be shortly before Christmas.
See, I don't think it would be before Christmas because everyone goes on holiday. So like you have way less time to do things. So you drop an expansion and then everyone leaves. I feel like that we've done that before. You know, we had a whole bunch of stuff happen, and then everyone went on holiday.
Yeah,
and
I
then
remember.
I think if they do it, it'll be early next year.
I think it'll tie in with the Android. I think sort of tie it into that, and it'll just Android does sort of somewhere in Q1, so like January, I think. Next year.
Yeah, but the expansion, if it happens, it has to happen before the Android release because you don't wanna take the risk of releasing a super buggy and overtuned expansion together with Android release. Like you don't
to a whole new audience.
Like you want the game to be as balanced as possible at that point.
I mean, we saw a tournament, then an expansion, and then a month later a mobile release. So I don't know if they'll do that or whether they'll use the expansion to. The tournament to hype the mobile release, or like because they always usually try and promote some sort of new content with the tournament.
That makes sense.
So we'll have to see how it all lines up. I don't know, but I wouldn't expect we'll see an expansion before Christmas. Yeah. Especially given it's like the 2nd of November, and they usually want to sell pre-order packs and that sort of thing. So
yeah, and if there are any problematic bugs, the CD Projekt Red is all on holiday, so
just dead game for 2 weeks.
Midwinter 2 happening.
Oh god!
Yeah.
Just buff dwarves and leave for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Rain on your parade, Heisenberg.
Oh god, can you imagine? Oh, that would be good.
But you were talking about having the feeling of you know the staff, you know your way around the studio. So I think it's a good moment to move to the next segment, which is the more personal / QA part of the podcast. So the first, I was wondering because we asked this question to Flake and my beard. How did you get to be a caster? What is your story? How did you apply for the
process? So way back when there was like 2 casters, or maybe it was just after Pandas died, so there would be 3 merchants. Who was first, Panda or merchant? I don't know. I emailed CDPR and I was like, hey, basically like put my foot in the door. I'm interested in working. Moving towards maybe working in commentary or hosting or analysis. And I just wanted to like mention my interest and is there anything I can do to kind of improve my chances? And I spoke to them. This was like 2017. It was a while ago, back when there was 3 casters. I just expressed interest. That was like the first step to say, these are the things I'm like looking for. And they came back and were like, are you more interested in hosting? Are you more interested in analysis and casting? Where do you want to be? And I said to them that I was more interested in casting, because I feel like hosting, you don't really display any, well, you don't, not any, but you don't show your knowledge of the game, and you don't necessarily talk about the game in such a way. It's more like you exist to pass the baton between different segments, and
you're facilitating.
Like commentary. Yeah, you're facilitating, and it's like definitely something I can do. But considering like how much I played in New Gwent and doing all my guides, I felt like I had all this knowledge that would then not be utilized. So I spoke to them then, and they were like, we're interested. And then I went for a meeting at CDPR, because they were basically looking for maybe having a backup duo, and they were considering Swim and I, because we did the talk show together. So I kind of spoke to them, and they were saying like, this is kind of what we're looking at. That's kind of where we're at. And then that's how I think me and Swim ended up being analysts for Challenger 3. I was a terrible analyst. I'm just going to put that one out there. Like, I am a much better caster than I am an analyst. I was a bit like a deer in the headlights with the analysis, and that was a really hard day. You like basically you don't get any breaks, because you have to be watching all the games and then telling a man to like make things into replays. Like you have to like, there's a lot going on, and it's really hard. Like, I have a lot of respect for the analysts. I think the current analysts we have are fantastic. I think they do a lot better job than I did. But so I think with them, I did that, and that was kind of a thing. And like, I already kind of knew I'd met CDPR and that sort of thing when then Merchant stepped down. And I'm good friends with Merchant. I've known Merchant since before Gwent. Like, he used to be community manager of a card game based on RuneScape. That's how I know Merchant. Oh. Like, I used to be the content creator for that game. Yeah, that's way back when. So me and him were kind of good pals, and like I knew that he was like leaving, and I knew that I'd spoken to CDPR about casting and stuff anyway. So it wasn't surprising. I got an email basically saying, "Hey, Merchant's left, and we're looking to replace him. Are you free to do an audition?" Like, they didn't just give me the job. People seem to think they were just like, "Oh, here, Jaggerous, you can be a caster.
You'll do.
You're a girl. Let's have some diversity." That's not what happened.
No diversity hires.
Yeah, and when I spoke to CDPR at the meeting, they specifically said, when I was talking to them about working with Swim, they said like, if we're gonna offer you a role, it's because you're good, not because of like gender or anything like that. Even though you will get that sort of flack. I do get that sort of flack, but I also think some people are just unkind, not because of gender, but because they're unkind. Anyway, so me and Panda had to do an audition, and Panda at the time didn't have internet.
Wow.
And we had to basically like I got a YouTube VOD of like a couple matches, and he went to his friend's house and used a laptop, and we basically I recorded a cast of us two, commentating that, and then had to send that to put it on YouTube privately, and then send it to CDPR being like, this is kind of the audition. Bear in mind, his mic would like cut out half the time, so I just had to just like go with it and just hope for the best. And I know other people audition too, people who are prominent in the community now, and ultimately I guess I got picked because I think there are a lot of good people in the community, but a lot of them are very analytical, and Panda already fills the analytical role. So you need someone that brings kind of energy and fun. Because if you have two analytical casters, it's just a little bit dry.
I agree completely.
And like that's one of the things that just is kind of the I think something that people aren't really aware of with casting or with like community casting. You need people who have a bit of you need someone who's a bit fun on top of someone who's very kind of game knowledge and analysis to find that balance. And sometimes we get community casts where we have a lot of analytical people and they all want to be casters, but then when you put them together, they're both good in their own right, but it doesn't necessarily work as a duo.
It's not enjoyable to watch, or not as enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, just because it's constant information. And I know there's definitely an audience for that. There's people who, want to play the game at the highest level and want to be competitive, and for them that's great. But for your average audience, that's not what they're interested in. Anyway, so we had an audition, and then they got back to me and were like, "You're in," and I was just like, I was so happy, and I was so nervous during the first tournament. Like, if I go back and look at it, I'm like, "You're trash." Like, I wasn't trash, I was but I've improved so much. Like, my synergy with Panda is a lot better. It's just one of these things that takes time. I think I struggle with pacing. I talk quite fast, and I think when your audience, if they aren't native speakers, sometimes find that a little bit difficult. So I have to kind of, I still try and slow down, but it's difficult. Like when you naturally speak quite quickly, it can be hard, especially in the heat of the moment, to bring that down. But we've definitely improved. I feel like we had issues where I felt like we needed to always have someone talking, but actually you need sometimes pauses for people to digest what you're saying.
To take that breath, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's something like we work on as a duo, and overall, I think I've come pretty far. I think I've done like 4 tournaments for casting now, and like looking at where I am now versus where I was then is much better. And yeah, that's kind of how it all happened. So like, it's one of these things where my advice would be, if you want to be a caster. At the moment, Gwent's probably not the right game to pick because
the job's filled. Move on.
We don't have a season 2, let alone like a lot of opportunities. But practice casting with different people. Find a good balance. Think about where you fit. Are you the analytical caster? Are you the color caster? Find practice casting with different people and find someone that you have a good energy with. Like a lot of it is just the duo. Solo casting is not that fun to watch.
No,
it's
I think
difficult,
it's good
you
to
can't
practice. It's a good way to kind of just practice your game knowledge and stuff, but it's never going to be a good example of your skill. Other than that, I mean, like I said, I kind of contacted CDPR. I was like, I'm going to put my foot in the door and see where it goes. I don't know if that will work now, considering like we have like some pretty consistent casters. But try and find opportunities to like showcase it, even if it's just like you and your friend who you decided to practice with commentating like a game. Like find a game on YouTube, find a game on watch a Twitch streamer, like one of the pro players streaming, say Tailbot, find one of his games, watch it, like mute him and commentate it and like put it out there. You've got to get practice in, and you've got to kind of try. And other than that, make content yourself. Like I was doing the podcast with Swim. I have my YouTube channel. I had my Twitch channel. I was doing written articles. I did a really long written article on Top Deck about, it was before Open 4 or something, and it was basically a breakdown of the players, how they qualified, where they're from, what. And I spoke to a lot of players as well. You can do interviews, like just show passion for competitive Gwent, or if it's another game, competitive other game. And that's one of the things that's going to help you, because the more you know about the competitive scene, the more you're kind of interacting with the community, the more people know you, the easier it's going to be for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And hopefully we get Spectator, and then more people can do kind of community stuff.
I think once Spectator mode will arrive, I think there will be a lot more community tournaments that will be casted by people.
Because at the moment you need people to stream, and it's
it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Bushy is organizing a community tournament as well. Bushy's Brawls, I think. It's called. And people need to stream, otherwise he cannot.
You can't cast it, yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to casting, how heavily do you rely on scripts, or how much is improvised?
Oh, we don't script. Well, we get given a script sometimes, and they're like, right. So they always have a script, and it's kind of usually more for like hosts and stuff. So we have a run of the show, and that tells us like this is like what's happening. So they're showing this video of like player profiles. Then it's going to be you guys. You're going to talk about the matchups. You're going to talk about the prize pool. You're going to talk about the Twitter poll, and then we're going to kind of get towards the game. So we know the kind of structure, and I'll have a notebook, and I'll have written out like we're going here, then here, then here. Other than that, we're kind of just left to our own devices. So like I will always look up some adjectives that begin with the letter I, because I always introduce Panda using, I'll be like, my name is Jaggerous, I'm joined by the, intolerable and inept, impetuous Panda. Or like, maybe I'll be nice and I'll be the imaginative and intrepid, but I always have some I words. I think, did I say it was impotent? I don't think I said I was impotent, but I did.
Wow.
I was like the impotent and inebriated, impetuous fan. Like, so I always look those up, or like have a kind of think about it beforehand, because like I have that's how my intro is. But other than that, we don't tend to script anything. Like, you can't script the game.
Yeah, exactly right.
I'll maybe think about puns a little bit beforehand, but a lot of them are just we'll just go where the broadcast takes us, I think at one point I was telling like Panda was fluent in robot, or he was fluent in dwarvish, or like sometimes you just end up going down this like weird tangent of like whatever is going on, and that's fine. And then kind of take it from there. We do have rehearsals, but a lot of the time in rehearsals we're just making like because we have to like cast a game, but because it's like not serious, a lot of the time we're just like talking absolute nonsense, but just like so that the production can practice different things, or they can get the overlays and stuff. And then it'll be like, and now we cut to the interview, and there's no one there to do the interview, or like it'll be like Vlad, who's like the esports manager, and we'll be like, oh, and in a shocking turn of events, it seems that actually Berja has somehow won round 1, and Telbot and Coleman have both been disqualified. So let's go to Berja for an interview, and like just. In some ways, I wish we could have like an outtakes of all the.
That would be. I'd love to see that. It would be good.
Behind the scenes, right?
Yeah. And we have things like we have a talkback one, so you can press the button if you need to talk to production without it being heard on the broadcast. Because like if the games are on the screen, you can't see us. So we have a button we can press to cough, which just mutes us, and we have a button to press to talk back to production. And they'll do like you'll have them in your earpiece, and they'll be like talkback check, and Pat will be like, yes, I would like a pepperoni pizza, large with extra cheese. Always orders pizza from them. So
and they never arrive.
No, never. But we had pizza at the last event. There was actually they ordered pizza for the audience. It was good.
I'm jealous. I wish I was there.
But so like the atmosphere in general is really fun, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And we do get the script. Oh my god! Sometimes the script is like people say my puns are cringe. Sometimes like some of the stuff that's written in the script, you're just like, who would ever say that? Like, oh my god! But you know what? They give it to us as a kind of like to give us structure, right? So it's like these are the points that we're covering. If we have to reveal a card, we'll get like told what the card is, exactly. And we can kind of plan what it is we want to talk about. I think we introduced the mechanic exposed, and I was like, sometimes you'll expose yourself, and it can be a good thing.
There are so many jokes there,
or a bad thing. If you take off all your armor, then you become exposed, and like just like that sort of thing, and we'll have a bit of a laugh with those kind of things. But in terms of prep, a lot of it's like we do deck discussions. So we'll sit down with other casters. We talk about the decks. We talk about the matchups. We write notes. We talk to the players. So we spend time speaking to the players. Why did you choose to bring this deck? What is it? And then we'll feed that into the commentary. Like people might not necessarily realize, but I'll be like, when we spoke to Telbot said that like wildcard is just better than lined pockets, right? Yeah. And it's true. I mean, we see it now, right? No one's playing lined pockets anymore. So we spend time speaking to players about their choices, why they made them, how they feel about their matchups, what they're doing with targeting, and even if like we have say Wang ID who's Chinese, for example, if we want to speak to him, we'll speak to him with Hesser, who's the translator. We try and speak to everyone regardless of our ability to communicate. So there is a lot of work that kind of goes in terms of prep behind the scenes. But yeah, it's good fun. But there's more prep in terms of like talking about decks and talking about matchups and that sort of thing than there is necessarily scripting. And the other thing we did last tournament was Team Aretusa were lovely. They invited us to like watch their scrims. So like with Colemon and Demorcus and stuff because they're TA members. They invited us to come and they talked with us. Like we did a session on Arrakis Queen with Gwent to Town, for example, and he was like talking about how to play and why they did certain things. And yeah, lots of prep. So I think that there's more goes into it than people necessarily see. And it's good. Some people are obviously going to be more prepped than others. It just depends how much you play and stuff, and what the situation is. But I felt like I was reasonably prepared for Challenger 5, and I'm kind of happy with how things went.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you already did like before Challenger, you already said that you had like 4 tournaments under your belt. So
yeah.
But is there any anecdote that you would like to share with the audience today from
previous events?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, lots of silly things happen. But I don't know, like
especially last.
We love silly things.
The TA people kept using what are they? The city. They had these like electric scooters. Oh my god, so many. I didn't ever use them. I was always in a taxi because I didn't realize how they worked. But people would be like, "Oh no, we'll take the. What are they called? They had a name.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but they have these electronic bikes.
E-riders.
Yeah, like e-scooters, and then but people kept crashing them.
Oh god.
like they'd come back and they'd be like injured and be like, what happened? It's like, oh, I decided to take an e-scooter back while drunk and crashed, and like have like scrapes and stuff all up your arms. And we play a lot of Gwent charades. Gwent charades is good fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Like Telbot and Ches are both really good at Gwent charades. They're just like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah.
But if you ever speak to Celia, ask her to do her Unseen Elder impression. It's pretty top tier.
Oh wow, she did a really amazing job on that.
It's good fun. Who is it? I gave Harpy Egg to.
Me, right?
It was you. Yeah. I gave baby just.
And I was like, Harpy Egg.
That is Harpy Egg. That was, and he was like, and then there was like a coat rack, and then he was like doing this in the coat rack, and I was like, no, you got to be like an egg, be like this, and then hatch. But he was just like, Harpy Egg.
Yeah, I did the worst impression of a Harpy Egg, I know.
And someone had to be like a runestone, and they were just like,
yeah, runestone.
Like
I mean, but those cards are really hard.
Yeah, some of them are difficult.
That's not easy.
No, some of them are easier than others.
Yeah,
Ignis is pretty easy, right?
Yeah, like Tilbot also gave me really difficult cards to imitate, like Call the Forest. What else? I mean, he gave Alice the blue whale. What's it called? The Mortian.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, I know the whale that deals.
Yeah, the special card. Demoria, something like that. Yeah.
Delirium.
Yeah.
That's yes. Thank you.
I had Scepter of Storms. I was like, great, I will be a stick, and then I was like, rain,
Like,
smoke, stick.
I think the best card to improvise would be Odrin.
Oh, dream.
Oh, with the
but you
beers.
cannot make sound, right? Yeah, with beers. You can boil 2 beers, for example. Yeah.
No, Gwent charades is a lot of fun.
Oh
It's
yeah, I
good,
can
it's
imagine.
good.
I think
Especially after a
so
few
good.
beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just I really hope they will, invite the community again to the next tournament.
Yeah,
whenever
when
it's
the
gonna
community's
happen.
there, it's like also there's like a
Yeah.
lot of socializing afterwards, like at the
Yeah.
hotel and like hanging out and stuff, and that was always really good.
So how-
Because it's always fun to see everyone, and then to have even more people who are all passionate about the same thing is just great.
Yeah, Pavel told us it feels like the family coming together.
Yeah. Like how would you compare it, like a Gwent Challenger without the audience and like the Gwent Challenger with the audience?
I think the audience is really fun from when we watch the games, like coming. So when I finish a cast, we'll come and we'll watch some of the next set. We don't always get to watch all of it, but it's exciting. It's like when people are cheering for the game and stuff. That's so cool. And so having that kind of audience experience is nice. Otherwise, we're just kind of chilling on the sofas. Some people are like on their phones or doing prep, and it's on the screen, but it's not necessarily the focus. Whereas like when there's that many people all there just to watch it, it becomes very focused, and it's cool to always meet new people. Like, I don't feel like I've ever really met anyone from Gwent and been like, this person's a dick. Like, everyone is really lovely. So it's always nice to just have that extra people, because usually with the tournament, like, we'll meet a couple new players in terms of people who've qualified. But, I know, McBeard, I know Flake, I know Panda. We know a lot of the players like Telbot and Adzakov and stuff, because they come to events quite often.
Yeah.
Game King, another one, and we always have like board games and stuff usually as well at the hotels.
Cool.
Are good fun. We play like code names and stuff, which is like a word game. Excuse me. But then having that extra layer of people and having the extra, like, I 100% enjoyed. But the audience was it was there for us. Like, it wasn't really there as part of the broadcast. Like, you didn't see the audience in the broadcast, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we actually did.
Yeah. So it was awesome to have an audience, but it kind of felt like it was something that was there for me and for us, rather than being there for everyone.
Twitch.
Yeah, for Twitch. And so hopefully if we do have an audience for World Masters, which I feel like it's likely, if I were going to guess, I would feel like they would have an audience for it, because it's the big kind of culmination
Yeah.
But hopefully that then is like part of the broadcast on Twitch or something. And I mean, I'm not sure. I'm wondering if they'll do it like, for example, how they had the event at Gamescom, like whether they have it at some sort of other tournament, like a DreamHack or something like that. But I don't know, when they are or I don't know anything about it. But like, if I were going to guess, if you're going to have something with an audience, maybe have it at a pre-existing kind of gaming event. To make it a bit easier to organize and stuff. But I don't know. I'm hoping we'll see it, early next year, but I don't know when it is.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Fingers crossed.
So, aside of like World Masters, is there anything else that you would like to see in the future of Gwent?
In terms of new
That's
content?
open to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, anything. It's a very open question.
I don't think they'll bring them back, but we used to have, the seasonal challenges where it was like a puzzle and you had to like play against there was like 3 usually.
Yeah.
Then they had one for Halloween, they had one I think for Christmas and for Oktoberfest. And basically you had to figure out this puzzle, and like the first one was usually quite easy and they would get progressively more difficult, and you were playing against the like it was like an AI and you had to try and do something kind of like in Thronebreaker, because they have a lot of really cool puzzles in Thronebreaker. But they would be events to commemorate holidays, so like maybe a Valentine's one. I would love to see that brought back in some sort of shape or form, because it always felt like kind of special and fun, and it was always fun to do them on YouTube and make videos for them. Often just be like, right, this is how you do it, because people just get stuck. So you'd be like, right here, yeah. I got you covered. But having those, they always felt like really different, and it's like not really something that you necessarily get in other card games. So I would love to see those brought back in some shape or form. Obviously not the same ones as we had, because the game is completely different, but they could definitely, they did have something like that in Thronebreaker. But I guess it's like, where are you taking somebody, you have to assign someone to make those and stuff, and like what are you taking away from? And like obviously I want spectator, but I don't know when that's going to be, just because I want there to be more support for community tournaments.
Yeah, that would be really cool if there will be support from CD Projekt Red investing in community tournaments as well. And I think we also briefly talked about it with Busha on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He also thinks that will be really cool.
Yeah, more online tournaments organized by the community.
Oh, I want Roach as a leader skin too, so that I can be Roach as a neutral leader skin, and then I can just be Roach for all of my games. And then she can do like a little thing, and then neigh. I can just neigh at people. Just be like, like voice lines, like "Well played." Yeah.
Kind of like Arax Queen.
Yeah, if they put a Roach leader skin in the I would just be like, I'm buying that.
Well, if they do Roach, they will have to do Knickers as well.
Oh, it could be a dog.
We've just solved all the money problem. Sorted. That's it.
I mean, those are really cool cosmetics, I think.
I think we will see leader skins coming in as cosmetics. So they just have to probably, now that they've decoupled the abilities, I would imagine you'll see like popular Gwent characters either as neutral leaders. We can use them for any faction or faction specific ones.
Empress Siri.
Everyone has their own favorites. Some people are like, oh yeah, Dandelion. Oh man, imagine if they release Yennefer and Triss, but you have to buy as a bundle.
What's the master right now?
That would annoy me. I don't want Triss. She can go in the bin.
Ooh. Half of the chat triggered.
Voice line's already there, right? So
yeah, like a lot of it. Exactly. Like I think they just have to rig models.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that will. I mean, part of the reason they're decoupled, right, is that you can then have leader cosmetics. So I'm sure we'll see it, going forward. But I'm kind of intrigued to see where they go first with that.
Yeah.
With the what?
With the leader skins. Like, who are they going to release as their first, like...
Oh, yeah.
That's true, yeah.
No, please, no. I think they should go for the Witcher 3 characters, because the success of Gwent still somewhat relies on the sales numbers of The Witcher 3. Like, a lot of people discover Gwent through The Witcher 3. So to have that element, they know, the NPCs, the characters they know and like, as leader skins, that could help a lot.
Oh, and then Geralt, like when you do something like you want to say like bad, was it like bad move? You can be like wrong, another mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be great.
I'm so excited. Just spam that. Oh god, I would
make it happen. CDPR.
Yeah.
And just a special tone, like I hate portals.
Yeah. You can have Easter eggs. Like if they play portal and you have Geralt as the leader, it just goes, I hate portals.
Would be good. Yeah, I think we are nearing the end of the
So I think it's
podcast
time
for
for plugs, a segment that we completely incidentally stole from our friend McBeard. McBeard, if you're watching, good idea. Thanks for the segment. So, Jaggerous, any
Yes.
closing statements, and where can people find you?
Oh, okay. So if you want to find me, I'm like the easiest person to stalk on the internet because I just go by Jaggerous everywhere. So youtube.com/Jaggerous, twitter.com/Jaggerous, twitch.tv/Jaggerous. It's very easy. It's very easy to follow me. But those are my kind of socials. So YouTube is like deck guides and stuff. Twitch, I tend to stream, evening European times, which is more chilled than laid back, and just kind of interacting with chat. If you want a backseat, feel free. I don't care. Just tell me how to play Gwent because I'm garbage. Other than that, closing statements. Make Nilfgaard great again. I have dreams. I just want like proper archetypes for Nilfgaard. That's like, it doesn't feel like it really has archetypes at the moment.
Oh yeah,
Still. So that my dream is like Nilfgaard archetypes.
like proper
we'll see.
soldiers. Oh, proper soldiers.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much for having me, and also shout outs to Team Leviathan Gaming. I do stream for them, so I should probably mention them. If you need like Gwenty content online, they have a website. I think it's teamleviathangaming.com. I hope it's teamleviathangaming.com.
Otherwise, you're gonna get some spicy messages from Shadow.
Shadow's gonna Jaggerous. It's teamleviathangaming.gg or something like that.
Lionheart, where can people find you, and when can people find you?
People can find me on twitch.tv/live thing. I stream 2 to 3 times a week, predominantly Gwent, and Jaggerous, if you think you're trash, people are in real trouble if they want to come and watch me play. So yeah, it's been great being involved in this for the first time, really enjoying it, and really enjoying Gwent at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how long the balance lasts, for sure. No, it's been great.
At least until December 10th.
Exactly.
Yeah, at least. Guys, we have a month and a
Ladder, here we
half
come.
of fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fine. We will make Pro Ladder again.
Yeah. BJ, my dear friend, now it's your turn.
Yes. My turn. Well, you can find me on Twitch like everyone else, Baby Joseph, and on Twitter as well, on just Baby Joseph. That's pretty much it. I don't have a YouTube. Maybe in the future. But yeah, we will see about that. For the time being, I'm helping others with content once in a while. But yeah, I am very occupied with my studies at the moment, so I will try to fit in some streams. I'm not having a schedule at the moment, but yeah, we will see when I'm online. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, where can you guys find me? Well, on this channel, because we are streaming from my channel, so that's very easy. And because I'm such a great host and streamer, you can just... I'm gonna even type it for you. !social, you can see my Discord, my Twitter, my YouTube. I try to make as much content as I physically can, which is not a lot. I stream around 3 to 4 times a week, and I produce weekly videos and write weekly articles for Team Rankstar. By the way, Team Rankstar, please check our website as well. And yeah, guys, if you want to stay in touch, also off-stream ! Podcast, and you will see the link to our Twitter at Novigrad Podcast, our Discord. There is going to be some new perks for our Discord friends. I think starting next episode, we're going to do a post-podcast show as well, where the hosts are going to discuss what went wrong, what went well, and how we liked the episode without the guest hearing any of it. So it's going to be spicy.
Garbage. Honestly, it's just absolutely terrible.
And yeah, this episode is going to be available on YouTube in a couple of hours. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And Jaggerous, thanks for being here.
Oh, no, thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have such a
pleasure.
well-known and liked member of the community on our show.
We'll say bye from the doggo.
Bye, doggo.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for chatting with us. We are going to raid somebody in a moment. But first, let's enjoy some Merchants of Novigrad music.
Yes.
So, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.